Welcome back to the Retro Wave. I am your host, El Tiburon, aka Retro Tiburon on the social medias. And we continue with the Summer of Movies theme as we rank our favorite sci-fi movies of all time. But first, let me introduce some guests here. I got a couple of special guests. I couldn't think of any two other guys to have on this episode, but Captain John and Mr. Joe Townsel, all the way from Starbase 80. It took a while to reach them. They're all the way over there in Starbase 80. Co-hosts of the Retro Rangers and Disco Nights podcast. Hey, welcome, guys. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having us, El Tiburon.
Yeah.
Mario, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's excited to be here on the Retro Wave.
Yeah.
Glad to have you guys here. And like I said, the YouTube channel is called Weber Internet Thingy, but on there you have two different podcasts, or how many podcasts? I know I've been on the Retro Rangers one.
Yeah, and you were on the Haunted Radio way back when.
Yeah, I missed that one. I miss when you guys would do those.
I keep thinking I want to bring that one back. But yeah, basically what Joe and I have done is we use, it used to be Starbase 80, but now it's SB 80 because we keep getting cease and desist letters saying stop using our intellectual property for various things. And that's okay. That's all right. People own their stuff. We get it. But, we're react and review guys. So when we do our show, like Retro Rangers, which El Tiburon, you've been on many times, and you're going to be on this Sunday, too.
Yeah. This episode's dropping afterwards, but if you're listening to this, go check out that episode. We did one, I think, about a month ago where we were watching Friday the 13th, the TV series, which sadly enough does not have Jason Voorhees, to my surprise.
Right.
There was no camp counselors in there.
Right. No, it's a terrible, it's very much not what you love about what you love. But this one's tough. So we got together to watch all the movie trailers for Nightmare on Elm Street. And as we're recording this, that's the one we're going to do coming up. But I do this thing where I test out the clips and see if YouTube gives us copyright problems because we're watching video. And we cannot watch Freddy's Nightmares.
Oh,
however,
that's his Friday the 13th, the TV series, right? That's his version.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
That was his version. You can find it, but you can't find it on YouTube, and it is so guarded. So I got kicked off the air for testing it out. I do have my own different channel to test these things so that our real channel doesn't get all the strikes on it.
Oh, you have a burner YouTube account?
I have a burner YouTube. El Tiburon, I have several burner YouTubes. Because they'll shut one down, they'll put you on, you go stand in the corner and think about what you've done. They'll do that to you. So then I have to go to one of my other accounts and put that one at jeopardy. So, what we will be able to watch is somebody collected all the previews for season 1 of Freddy's Nightmares, the syndicated TV series. So we'll at least be able to watch that. And we were also, if you can go, I don't know how old your audience is. Maybe nobody goes to Facebook anymore. I get it. I totally get it. But we will put up on our SB80 account, SB80_.coms, on Instagram, and it's also our handle on Twitter. I don't say X.
You refuse to say X. Now, a lot of people. You're not alone on that.
To hell with that guy. He's not going to be around forever. That guy who changed it. He's not going to be around forever. So if you can go to either one of those, you will find a link to dailymotion.com, who does show these shows, and they are so bad/good. So we'll be able to connect people with them, but we can't stream them. It's
gotcha.
Yeah, streaming, man. I admire the fact that you've been streaming for so long, and working live for so long. I mean, we've been doing a bit ourselves, but in terms of trying to share stuff and share live video, it's dicey. They really don't love that anyone wants to do that. We do our best.
I've gotten one copyright strike. That's the bad one, right? The copyright strike.
Oh,
oddly enough, I feel like I wasted it because I was watching a boring ass Greg the Hammer Valentine match. I was streaming that. I should have streamed something good at least instead of Greg the Hammer Valentine versus Bob Backlund.
Holy cow. It's always the stupidest things. We got one of our biggest strikes from a rare cartoon that only lasted 10 episodes. It was called Where's Huddles from 1970. And we were doing our football themed show around the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And that one got us kicked off the air. No one knows anything about this show, but it's owned by Time Warner, and they are serious. They do not play.
They don't mess around.
They don't mess around. And for some reason, I was trying to show stuff for the Freddy's Nightmare show, and Warner Brothers came after. I was like, where's the connection between Warner Brothers and Elm Street? I don't know.
They own them, I think, now, right?
Do
they're under the umbrella, I think, of I think it used to be New Line, right?
New Line, yeah.
And I think I only know that because I watched the new Space Jam, and you know how that's Warner Brothers, the one with LeBron James.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And in the final game, they have all these Warner Brother characters watching the basketball game, and Freddy Krueger's there, like Freddy Krueger and like Pennywise, and
next to
so funny. Next to like what's his name? Chicken Leg Foghorn. What's his name? That big rooster. There you go.
Foghorn Leghorn.
Close.
Foghorn Leghorn.
Close enough.
There used to be an old time radio show called the Fred Allen Show, and there was a character named Senator Claghorn.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember the name of the comedian who used to do his voice. But I say there, son. I say there, son. That's my value. A small suitcase, that is.
So that's what he's based on, that dude?
Senator Claghorn became Foghorn Leghorn. And like every character, they were like, well, should we hire the guy who does the voice? No, just get Mel Blanc to do it. We're paying him anyway. And so there were all these different guys all through the early years of Looney Tunes who had different guys doing the voices, and as each guy would die, they would just make Mel Blanc do the voice now.
I just remember always seeing that name, Mel Blanc. Like that was always the voice. He's the OG right there.
Captain Caveman.
Yeah. I used to love him. Hong Kong Phooey.
Oh, yeah.
Hong Kong Phooey. Yeah, I used to love that.
Voiced by
that's the Scatman right there.
That's Scatman Crothers right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to love all those cartoons back in the day. But the reason I brought you guys specifically on is because your YouTube channel, Weber Internet Thingy, and all those links, I'll get them from you, John, if you want to put them in that Facebook message. And I'll put them for the viewers in the description of the YouTube video. For the audio listeners, it'll be in the show notes. So check out those links to it, the Facebook, right, their YouTube channel, all that. But I brought both of you on because I feel like you guys know your sci-fi stuff. You guys are big sci-fi buffs.
You know, Joe, I've never asked you this. I think I've assumed it. But of all the genres, I know you love horror, and I don't love horror quite as much as you two guys. But sci-fi for me is it. I love it. If it's sci-fi, I will give it a chance like no one else will. And there's stuff that I like that I think most people are like, really? But yeah, that's my genre.
Actually, I got just being transparent, I got the list ahead of time. And I did have a question about one of the ones on your list.
Good. Oh, good.
But Joe, I know you're a big horror guy. So Joe Townsel's an author. I bought a book from him at joetownsel.com. Gave me a little bit of a nightmare. It's all right. It's okay. But
then my job is done.
Yeah, but are you more?
This stuff creeps me out.
Yeah, I read one of the short stories. But would you consider yourself like 50-50 sci-fi horror or more on the horror side?
Well, I think at this point I'm more on the horror side. Now I will say that now Now, my most recent book, the one before called Mate to Order, that is squarely a science fiction horror novel.
Okay.
You know, from beginning to end. An upcoming novel, which I'm not currently working on, so I won't plug it per se, but that will be straight sci-fi as well as any stories that go with it. And that's my goal, is to kind of shift to that genre for my next offering after the one I'm currently working on is done. But so far, primarily horror, yes.
Okay, cool. But I know,
and I'd also like to point out, if I may, that Joe, like so many of my favorite authors, has created a universe in which almost all of his stories happen in this one realm of existence, which I love. I think universe building is the sign
so
of
kind of like
great
Stephen King,
fiction.
A little bit like Stephen King. Yeah.
Yes,
It's funny. It's funny you happen to mention that, Mr. King, Mario. Yes, I am proud to say that he is my idol, my favorite author of all time. Yeah. I do try to emulate his styles in the sense of, as John says, world and universe building. Now, this is not to say that you can't read every novel, every story independently. However, if you really get into it, you'll see aspects of all of them that you're going to say, oh, yeah, I remember this guy. I remember that situation from this other collection or whatever. So
there are characters, there are events. Yeah, it's very cool. I think a beautiful mind is required to make that, and Mr. Townsel has one of those.
Well, I thank you both very much, and I'm glad I'm giving. And John told me just last week that one of my stories in my Fury Duty collection really creeped him out. So again, my job has been successfully accomplished for both of you.
You almost had John shit his pants. Good job, Joe. Good job.
That close.
Job done.
So close.
All right.
No. Yeah. No, I got to the end of the story because it was a very short story. I got to the end and I was like, oh boy, that's uncomfortable and freaky and creepy.
I think in the one,
and he makes,
the one I read was like there was a lady's bosom with like teeth, the bosom had teeth, and I was like, I'm never gonna forget that image. Like it's in. Like...
Well, I'll tell you both. What Mario read was a little tale called Another Day, Another Horror from the Anticipation collection.
Oh, nice.
And John, of course, read Test Kitchen from the Fury Duty collection.
Yeah. There you go. Go to joetownsel.com. That's where if you want to, a little scare, you're feeling a little numb, read one of those horror short stories to give you a little like defibrillator.
Get the heart rate going. You want that.
All right. So we're gonna take a quick commercial break and come back and rank our favorite sci-fi movies of all time.
When you make a great tasting candy, word gets around.
You want Reese's Pieces, do you?
Ah, Reese's Pieces. Who in the world was that?
I don't know. Kind of looked like your cousin Willie.
Reese's Pieces with the great peanut butter taste that's out of this world.
I'm the only one watching this video on my end, but I was like, that does not look like E.T. They use like a bootleg looking E.T. I was like, wait a minute.
It takes a lot of money to make an ET, so I didn't even consider putting ET on my top 5. Damn.
I was kind of feeling when I put that commercial, I was like, I wonder if it's gonna trigger like, oh man, I forgot about ET. Yeah.
Well, I have a feeling there's gonna be a snowball effect throughout this show. I just have that feeling.
I'm sure that's true.
It is.
That happens a lot though. Because sometimes when I've had other friends on and then someone will mention a movie, you're like, I forgot that damn movie. I forgot about that damn movie.
I mean, it's crazy to only have 5. I mean, I understand you want to do a show that's less than 4 hours, so I totally respect that.
Yeah, I think you messaged me on Facebook. Like, it was really hard to just pick 5.
Oh, it was surgery. It was like performing surgery on myself. It was brutal.
but at the end of the list, we'll talk about some honorable mentions to show a little love to the ones that got left out.
That's great.
So this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go from number 5 to number 1. So these are all-time favorite sci-fi movies. part of me feels like I kind of screwed up by not putting parameters because sci-fi is so big.
Oh,
because there's sci-fi.
No,
horror.
I had to do that.
Sci-fi horror, sci-fi action, sci-fi comedy,
sci-fi comic books.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, there's lots of ways that Guardians of the Galaxy. How is that not sci-fi? You know?
Yeah, but I was like, F it. It's sci-fi. You guys determine what sci-fi is, and then we can have that discussion. We can have a little debate. If you're like, that's not really sci-fi, or that's more action, or that's more comedy. We can have that debate.
Well, personally, I tend to stay away from what I consider to be science fantasy as opposed to science fiction.
Well, that's a good thing to consider as well. You know, I love Star Wars, but I think of that more as fantasy than I do of science fiction.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it's tough. I should have narrowed it down and had more, left more meat on the bone for future episodes. But that would be like too logistic. Like that would be like make too much sense to do that. So we're just
science fiction movies with an R in the title.
if you want, you can create any kind of subdivision you want. You can do because it was tough for me because there are so many franchises and I love these franchises. But I ended up not choosing anything from a franchise.
Yeah,
that would be a little easier.
We can talk about that as we get into it because you said it's easy to pick these, but I'm not picking those. But we'll get into it at the end. Let's first we'll hear your list. So I'm gonna let my guests go first. So John, I'm gonna play the trailer for your number 5 first. Okay, so this is John's number 5 favorite sci-fi movie of all time.
The year 2000. America is a vast speedway. People line the streets to witness the greatest drivers on Earth in a race from sea to shining sea.
This is a death race.
You finish first, or not at all. Death Race 2000. Every car a deadly weapon. Every spectator a potential point. Cross-country road wreck, and the traffic is murder.
Who are you, anyway?
The best driver on Earth.
I don't want you to die.
He was built by the world's finest surgeons to drive the fastest car ever designed, and nothing can stop him now. Death Race 2000, rated R.
Number 5, Captain John has Death Race 2000. Tell us about this movie.
I love this movie so much. As we are recording this, was it a month ago that Roger Corman passed away? Something
more
like
or less,
that.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a few weeks ago. And I didn't even realize it was a Roger Corman film. He made B movies. He made drive-in movies. And holy cow, this one had it all. It's got a young Sylvester Stallone.
I was gonna say, was that because I'm watching the video on my end, so you guys can't see. I was like, that's Sylvester Stallone, a young Sly.
Yeah, and he plays like a total side character, and the main character, Frankenstein, is not Frankenstein's monster. Interestingly enough, is played by David Carradine, who was the star of the TV series Kung Fu. And was kind of a monster celebrity for like 1973, 1974, 1975, like real short window. He was a huge celebrity. And he's very cocky and he's very much like, oh, I'm a big star in this movie. So that makes it fun. But the basic plot is there's the way society and there's like fascist overlords that run everything in the future in the year 2000.
In the year 2000.
So watch out, everybody. 24 years ago. And the way they get rid of excess population is they put people out in the streets and these people get run down by this race. And that's why it's called the Death Race. And you're basically supposed to rack up points by hitting as many people as you can.
Jesus
and it's Christ. This dystopian future. And it's a wild movie. It was so controversial when it came out in the early 70s. Oh, this is terrible. And yet every person I knew from that point on, when they'd be driving, if somebody was like jaywalking, they'd be like, how many points do you think that guy's worth? Like it added to society. So anyway, Death Race 2000. I never saw the Jason Statham remake, so I don't know if that was anywhere in, even in the neighborhood of this movie. And I don't know what this movie looks like. Tiburon, I don't know what you would think if you saw this movie now.
It reminded me of Death Proof a little bit. Just that trailer.
Oh, yeah.
Like I think it's Tarantino, right? Death Proof. It gave me those vibes a little bit.
And Death Race 2000 definitely inspired that, without a doubt. Because it was a grindhouse movie. It was a sick, exploitative, violent 70s movie, but it also had a lot of humor in it, which, I would say people need to check it out. It's one of the funniest sci-fi movies I could think of, too.
Yeah, very cool.
I love it.
Any thoughts on this one, Joe? Have you seen this one?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, more than once. And John's absolutely right about John Carradine being the so-called badass. And
David Carradine. John's son.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. Sorry about that. Both
no, John Carradine's a great actor. Yeah.
Yes. But yes, and and it actually falls into another subcategory, which I think will come into play with a couple of my selections, and that subcategory is speculative fiction. And so it's kind of like a subgenre, as it were. Yeah. And you know what? Not too far off as far as the bloodthirsty aspects of some of the gameplay we enjoy now and in recent history. I mean, so.
Oh yeah. No, this was this was before video games.
I was gonna say, I don't know if you've ever heard of the video game Twisted Metal. It's I was like, this is Twisted Metal. I want to watch this one. It reminds me of Twisted Metal.
Have you checked out the series on Peacock?
No, I haven't. Metal? I know the wrestler Samoa Joe's the Sweet Tooth, the clown, right?
Oh, that's like the best casting ever. I was like so happy. I used to have ICM was one of my agents for my voiceover work, and every once in a while I would see Samoa Joe because he was a client of theirs too.
Would he stiff you with a forearm shot? When he saw
I would always remind him of the time that we went down to Orange County to just get in somebody's ring and take. You were there.
I was there.
And he was fresh from Japan, and he was so mean. He was stiffing the hell out of us all the way around. Yeah.
So in wrestling, Joe, there's you can throw like the fake working punches, but you can throw forearms where you hit the right there with a forearm, but you got to make it look real. And Rudy, our buddy Sexy Chino, and I, we were paired together. We're throwing little nice little patty cake ones. All right. And then Joe sees us. He's like, no, come here. I'm gonna show you how to do it for reals. And I just remember after he hit me with a few shots, I felt like a marble in my head. Like that's how my brain was rattling. I had a headache for the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah,
that sounds great.
Yeah,
he was so overly tough on us, and I feel like now he would be as light as a pillow.
Yeah,
having worked so many matches now, but he was still kind of new at the time.
Yeah, I was like, thanks, Sexy Chino, for inviting me to this awesome training.
But I think it's totally appropriate that Tiburon brings up Tarantino and Death Proof because actually it's the other way around where he borrows liberally from these great grindhouse B movies.
Yes,
and of course he's Carradine later on in Kill Bill.
That's right.
Those reasons.
He's Bill. I forgot about that. Yeah,
he is Bill. So yes, I mean these are the things that definitely inspired Tarantino and Rodriguez and others.
Yeah, I need to watch this one. Yeah. It said the trailer I played. It read the Scream Factory logo first. So it's available. I'm sure on Blu-ray at Scream Factory.
Right.
So
Scream Factory's got I've got Roku, and they have a streaming channel. Can't remember how much you pay for it.
Yeah, I need to watch this Twisted Metal. the movie.
And let me tell you, it looks like it's from the 70s, and I also get kind of a charm from old versions of what the future is going to look like. Like even the fact that they're like, in the year 2000, I can't even imagine what that's going to be like. 2000, holy cow.
What's the new 2000? Isn't it like...
Oh, that's a good question.
Why don't they aim like way ahead? Why do they always aim like 20 years later?
Well, this is why the eugenics wars in Star Trek took place in 96. Now they have to explain it away because we're way past that. I mean, you're right, Mario. They just need to really put it out there. I mean, and John, the remake, as I recall, doesn't even have the year in the title, does it? Just Death Race?
That could be, yeah, that could be true. I don't remember ever being interested in seeing it, and then because it was like PG-13 or something.
Yeah,
I was walking out of some movie and people were walking into it with like toddlers. Hey, good luck. That's some good parenting right there. Good luck. It's a lot of vroom vroom crash crash. Honestly, Twisted Metal is better than any movie. In terms of if you're going to sit down and play Twisted Metal, which on my Sony PlayStation was my favorite game for years.
Yeah, it's a great one. A couple of my buddies came over, Billy, including Billy, this past weekend, and we streamed Twisted Metal 2. And at first, it's like, oh man, these controllers are a little outdated, a little janky. And then once we got the flow of it, we were like screaming and like getting all into like, we went
back into it.
Yeah, so very cool.
But Tiburon and John, you make a great point about putting those future years further out because, I mean, 2015 is come and gone. There's no flying cars. 2022 is come and gone. There's no Soylent Green. So they need to push it further out. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, it seems like some movies just are going out to like 2049 or something like that. Go further.
Right.
Go like 3,000.
You'll be here before you know it.
Yeah. I mean, at least Michael Knight got it right with like he had like a watch he would talk to, right? Like a little.
Yeah.
I mean, at least that's like legit. Like we have that.
We've had that for a while too, which is really cool.
Very cool, and that's why I brought these guys on because I'm like I'm sitting under the learning tree. There's gonna be some movies that I'm like, okay, I need to watch that. I've never heard of that. I need to check that one out. That's why I brought Joe and John here. But a cool pick, John. We're gonna go now to Mr. Joe Townsel's number 5 pick.
Oh boy.
This could be the beginning of the end for the human race. For what men first thought were meteors or the often ridiculed flying saucers are in reality the flaming vanguard of the invasion from Mars.
Looks like they're going to come out of that gully pretty soon. We'll have to rush our defenses to be ready when they do.
We're going to need plenty of reinforcements.
We'll get them. Lieutenant! Look!
They slash across country like scythes, wiping out everything that's trying to get away from them.
That explains why communication is cut the moment their machines begin moving.
Montreal's blacked out. Nothing more's come through.
Same thing that happened on the Pacific coast. Anything from them yet?
No, Mr. Secretary. We've had nothing from San Francisco for over 5 hours.
The nations of the world mobilize their armed might, rushing to defend the Earth against the unknown weapons of the super race from the Red Planet. Is there nothing that can stop the Martian death machines?
Guns, tanks, bombs. They're like toys against them.
We know now that we can't beat their machines. We've got to beat them.
All over the world, human beings cower before the onslaught of these unearthly enemies, whom no one has ever seen. Panic that sweeps around the globe as the great masses of mankind flee blindly in a headlong stampede of hysteria.
5, Joe Townsel's got the original, The War of the Worlds. Tell us about this pick, Joe.
War of the Worlds. Yes, H.G. Wells, the original author of the novel. My pick, just for the sheer suspense and thrills it gave audiences at the time. I should have looked up the year.
1953. It says
1953. Okay, I was a little bit off, but yes, I mean, very terrorizing at the time. Now, one thing I was going to say to John, I'm suddenly missing Haunted Radio from Space. Don't ask.
I was going to say that was the episode you guys invited me on. Was when we listened to the radio episode of that. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
because of course the original novel was written in the late 1800s, and that's when the story takes place. And Orson Welles went on to produce a radio play based on the book, which terrorized America. And it has the story has a great history. I mean, it was also remade, of course, with Tom Cruise. John and I were talking about how much we enjoyed the remake, and
I love that remake, man.
Yes,
it's in many ways too.
It's a Spielberg, directed by, and Cruise did an excellent job. I don't want to get too far off the subject matter of the original, but in many ways, the remake was more faithful to the original novel. But I think what just really sets the original apart, again, is it's the time it came out, the effect it had on audiences, and all the little details. The Martians exist and physically are in a world of threes. 3 eyes, 3 legs, 3 tripods for ships. Yeah. Totally alien to what we're used to. We don't have any Star Trek put slap something on the forehead and make him an alien type of stuff. These are truly alien and terrifying.
Yeah.
And it was one of the best stories ever in terms of all hope is lost until just the flu wiped them out. And of course, yes. Oh, sorry about that, gang.
You guys have had 70 years to watch this movie.
Yes, I take no responsibility at this point.
But it's
and it holds up. I mean, it's still genuinely scary. It's not laughable. The effects also hold up, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And just a classic of the sci-fi and sci-fi horror genres.
And it said in Technicolor. What was
Technicolor?
What was Technicolor? Was that when it was black and white and then they would add color? Was that what Technicolor was, or what was Technicolor?
It was just a type of color filming. It was always in color.
Oh, okay.
Things like colorization didn't really come along until Ted Turner reared his ugly head on the whole shebang. But there was Technicolor, there was Panavision, everything to fit the wide scope of the screen and really bring those people in for the movies when they're sitting home watching I Love Lucy on TV.
So it was just a gimmick?
It was a certain kind of film. And I don't remember if it was as simple as, if it's 35 millimeter, then it's automatically Technicolor. But it was a certain kind of film that offered you these very vibrant colors. And in 1953, it actually is kind of necessary for them to do Panavision or Technicolor and to do these gimmicks because people were really falling in love with television.
Mm-hmm.
And television was quote unquote free. All you had to do is watch some commercials as opposed to drive all the way into town, go see, 2 movies and a cartoon and a newsreel and a serial or whatever people were seeing. Like, it was a big night to go out to the theater back in the day. It would take you all night, and it was nice.
That's
cool. It was cheap too.
That's cool. Cool.
Yeah, going to the movies back then was like flying back in the 70s. It was a luxury experience, not just an Airbus.
Yeah. but also in 1953, you're post World War II by about 6-7 years at this point. And communism is raging across the world, you're being told. And so an alien invasion kind of pushes a lot of buttons for people. And that's never stopped. Actually, a couple of my movies that I love are alien invasion movies. And I kind of dig it. It's a great subject. It's never old to talk about. One of these days, aliens could show up and be like, "I plant my flag here. I'm a colonist, now I own all this."
Let me ask you guys. Let me start with Joe. Do you think something's out there, some kind of life form?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just in terms of pure mathematics. I mean, you look in the sky, how many infinite billions and trillions of stars, most of which would support orbiting planet bodies. And I think the reason a lot of people are skeptical is because they envision, again, those Star Trek aliens that are pretty much human, but with appliances added to their faces and ears. Life can exist in all forms and types. So yes, I think that absolutely there are various life forms with various levels of development and intelligence, and someday I'm sure we'll meet them.
Someday we're gonna get our comeuppance. What about you, John? You think there's something out there?
There are so many theories about why we have not met anybody from other worlds in a direct, definitive way. And the theories are really scary. One of them is that there is something out there that when races start traveling away from their worlds, they just get killed. Or that if you do somehow, arouse the curiosity of an alien, the alien will just come and wipe everything out. We live on a beautiful garden planet. It is really rare. I'm stealing this theme from the TV show Greatest American Hero. This actually is a theory from that show, which is very Retro Rangers, which is the show that Joe and I do. And that is that it's so rare for all of nature that we have on our planet to exist on one planet, though they are out there. There are garden planets like ours out there, but Stephen Hawking believed that we really have something to lose here, that if we arouse the suspicion or the curiosity of aliens, we're effed, because we got way too much here. We've got water, we've got these great plants, we've got all kinds of plants, we've got all kinds of animals. We're a valuable place. If we are found, it could be really bad. And I'm an old guy, so I'm kind of like, man, I hope it happens after I'm dead. And who knows? There's lots of reasons to believe. I don't love everything on ancient aliens, but there's lots of reason to believe that they were already here, that maybe they came at a time when we were just monkey people. Maybe they came at a time during an earlier, era of humans and civilization that we may have even forgotten about at this point. This planet's been around for so long. It would be really weird if it was never visited. But the kinds of visitations we get are really strange. They really make you wonder if it's a solid world that they're coming from and visiting us in. So it's complicated. There are, as Joe says, I can bring it just back to Joe, which is there's so many different kinds of life. There could be clouds that think. There could be, things the size of bacteria that visit us. The variety of life is a lot more than a bunch of guys showing up wearing the same zippered, what do you call them? Like jumpsuits. Yeah. And they call each other Zoltor. It's different from that, I'm sure. But
we could be the dreaded visitors that other aliens to us dread.
It's possible,
because of course humankind has a slight history in colonization and invading. So we could be the villains at some point too. Let's not discount that possibility.
It's possible.
That's the plot twist. We're the villains. We're the aliens. Yeah. I was just hoping.
Easy.
I was just hoping I could appease them if they show up with some racist pieces. Send them on their way.
Historically, I think that has been proven.
All right, very cool pick. I'm gonna go now to my number 5 pick.
Coming soon.
He is an unstoppable killing machine.
What the hell is going on?
Jason Voorhees!
Guys, it's okay. He just wanted his machete back. Uh-oh.
He's been modified. Oh, you think? You guys might want to run.
Jason X.
I don't think he's out there.
Why don't you stick your head out and have a peek?
All right. Let me explain, okay? Because I already know John's going to be like, well, how the hell are you picking a Friday the 13th movie for your favorite?
Wait a minute.
Look, he's in space. There's like technological jargon. He becomes kind of like a robot, hybrid, Jason, cyborg. There's an X in the title. Shouldn't that count for something? It's space. It's sci-fi. Look, I will admit I love Friday the 13th, and I was like, no, don't put Jason X on your top 5.
Right.
Watch the movies. Pick something else.
Yeah.
And at the last minute, I was like, no, I'm putting Jason X because I love Jason X. I was thinking, like, what space movie would I love to see? I want to see Jason X. That's what I want to see.
I think that's the question you have to ask yourself when you're putting together your top 5. What do I want to watch? One of the standards I used was if I'm flipping channels or I'm going through all the choices to stream and I see one of these movies, I will stop and watch it, maybe for 10 minutes, maybe for an hour, maybe I'll watch the whole thing. And I've done that so many times. I think that counts. So yes, Friday the 13th X or whatever. What was it called? Jason X?
Jason X.
It was called Jason X.
Yeah, that's totally a sci-fi film. That's totally a sci-fi.
Yeah, it wasn't even Malcolm's younger brother or something like that. Jason X. I'm not sure.
Freed a lot of people from life.
Malcolm's younger brother. Yeah, but man, I remember seeing this movie in the theater and just being kind of thirsty for Friday the 13th because I think the one before this one was Jason Goes to Hell. I think they stopped using like Friday the 13th in the title for after I think New Line bought them out because it was owned by I think Paramount, right? And then New Line took over, and then it was Jason Goes to Hell, and then Jason X. But I remember going to the theater and just being like, Jason in space. Okay, I just want to see Jason Voorhees. And I had a good time. And I had popcorn. I was...
How old do you think you were?
This must have been XPW days, because I think this came out 2000, I think.
Right. So around 17, 18 at that point.
I was, 18. And I had a good time, which I feel like, okay, sometimes you go to the movies and you want to like think and you want to like get engaged in the story. But I feel like sometimes I just want to go and have a good time and eat some popcorn and laugh at the movie. And this is what this is. Man. This is what this is.
and another spoiler, but this movie ends with him, Jason falling to one of those garden plants to which John referred earlier.
Oh, yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He does.
To a new Crystal Lake, yes.
Yeah, to one of those other planets we were talking about.
That is so funny. Yeah. No, it totally counts, man. I mean, I don't care if they put Leprechaun in space. I don't care. Been there. That's a sci-fi. He is, right?
Does he have his Pinhead own space? Too? Pinhead's been in space.
Oh my god! No, I'm totally up for that. That's cool.
But you haven't seen this one? Well, my guess is no, because you called it Friday the 13th X. You haven't seen this.
Oh, I've seen Jason X.
I avoid horror. Yeah. Oh, you have, Joe.
Joe, you've seen it?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Well, what do you?
How do I know about the ending?
Yeah.
I think it's great. It's great fun. It is, as you described, Mario, one of the great popcorn movies. Absolutely. Yeah. There are movies that you applaud for not taking themselves too seriously. This one takes itself seriously not at all. Quite the opposite. Yeah, and you know what? It's got good kills. It's got good laughs. It's got some good jump scares, and it's all in space. How can you go wrong?
Yeah.
My favorite scene is at some point they're trying to use like all this technology and all this these things on them to like distract them, and at some point they create like a hologram of Camp Crystal Lake. And he like walks in and he's like, "What the fuck?" Like I'm at Camp Crystal Lake now. And then there's some like, you know, holographic, like teenage, like, you know, young girls, young ladies, and showing off their, you know, their, let me play this. You know what they're showing off their things. And let's just say Jason was not too welcoming to the.
It's a Friday the 13th movie. You got to have some jiggle.
Of course. And John, speaking of that, one reason to watch the girl android in this is quite hot. You got to watch it.
Oh yeah, there's
a girl android.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Jason meets his
just
match.
a regular girl.
No,
that's cool.
She's kind of like combination Ian Flux and I don't know, like Terminator or something. She gives.
All right,
she gives
Terminatrix.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my pick. Damn it, I'm sticking to it. Jason X.
That's a good
argument here.
Yeah, no, that's a solid pick. I'm with you on that.
All right, now we're gonna go to Captain John's number 4 pick. Let's check out what he has.
We now know that meteors will land off the coast.
Evacuations are now underway.
It appears that there's some shadowy figures. Lucas, if you could just come back, please. Oh my God!
When you invade a place for its resources, you wipe out the indigenous population. Right now, we are being colonized.
Just kind of reminds me of what we were talking about. Captain John's got Battle Los Angeles at his number 4 pick.
I happen to love genre, and now this is just like Jason X. Actually, I like when something can be 2 different genres at the same time. That to me is a sign of cleverness and fun. And I love sci-fi. So if you combine something with sci-fi, I'll give it a look. And what I love about Battle Los Angeles, I mean, I've been living in Los Angeles for almost 30 years. I live near Los Angeles now. And so I really came to know like the city, and it's sprawling. I mean, it's gigantic. So setting something there gives you a lot of, these great wide open spaces because so much of it is flat too. And visually, this is a really intense movie. It is science fiction combined with a war movie because you're basically following one platoon and the remains of the platoon because obviously, a lot of them are getting killed like crazy. And there's so many levels of scary, but there's also some really great acting. Larry Pena is amazing in this movie. Thomas Jane, I believe it's Thomas Jane, right? Yes. Is the lead, and it's like a corny old time World War II kind of movie on so many levels. Like, no, Captain, we're not leaving you. Come on. There's lots of that. There's lots of like, go, I got it. Oh no, I ran out of bullets. Here come the aliens. Like, just classic old-timey war movie, but very much. Here's something I love in science fiction. If you can show me what it would look like in real life, if you can show me a realistic, naturalistic alien invasion, I will freak out. Because to me, it's like I'm watching the news. I don't know if you guys remember watching TV around 9/11.
Oh, yes.
They just show the same clips over and over, and you're like, holy cow, that's what it looks like. That's what it looks like when, 2 planes bring down 2 towers, other areas around it get wiped out too. The fires, just all the terrible stuff. And this came out after 9/11. So I think it pushed a lot of buttons for people watching it too. Like, kind of keeping that that's a function of horror, is it not? To take something that already is horrific to you and remind you of it. So Battle Los Angeles, great movie. I watch it anytime I go past it. I have to watch it. I get so many great things out of it each time I watch it. Absolutely love this movie.
Have you seen this one, Joe?
I sure have, and I'll add a little bit to what John said. it's inherently scary because this is science fiction horror, in my opinion. Yeah. And as such, I mean, the movie literally begins with the initial attacks. These people living in these high-rise apartment buildings are eye level with the invaders.
Yeah,
they're not on the ground looking up going, oh, they're right there in their face.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the city environment, unlike being in a forest somewhere where you can hide behind a tree, maybe, even when you're outside, you're still trapped. You're still inside, so to speak, because you're just surrounded by all the mayhem, all the buildings, and the invaders. As John says, I agree. It's complete. It's very intense, and just a nonstop from beginning to end, as far as just thrills and chills, so to speak. So yes, I would highly recommend it as well.
Okay, I've never seen this one. I feel like this is one of these movies that, like, I saw the title, I probably saw the trailer, but it kind of just went over me. So that's why it's cool that you had this on there, because now you're like, you guys are vouching for it. So I'm like, okay, I'll be on the lookout for it if I can find it cheap, on Blu-ray.
Yeah, I think you'll dig it. And it was really well made. Like, it looks like a cheap movie, but only because they were trying to make it look gritty and realistic. But it was really well made. So there's a lot of money on the screen. There's a lot of quality there.
Okay. I think they were going, John, for something in between, like just a standard narrative in the filmmaking and the so-called found footage. It was somewhere in between, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, the found footage thing, because, you wanted to make things look like what it would look like, So there's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of dirt. There's, a lot of crashed, blown up things all over the place. And it's not pretty. It's not smooth. And when we were talking about like Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds, I mean, he did make it look messy and he did make it look tough, but it was Spielberg still. So it's still very beautiful on a lot of different levels.
Right.
But this one's rugged. If you could dig a violent movie along with a sci-fi movie, this is a good combination.
All right. Want to check out. All right. So now we're going to go to Joe's number 4 pick.
Such stories as H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds and Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea have challenged mankind. So today, man is successfully probing deep into the mysteries of the universe. Can he penetrate the greatest mystery of all, time itself? Magic of George Pal and the fabulous production know-how of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer to catapult you through time into a world that is yet to be.
Why is it that we usually ignore the fourth dimension? You see, we can move in the other three. As the doctor said, up, down, forwards, backwards, sideways. But when it comes to time, we are prisoners.
Inventor Rod Taylor's breakthrough into the realm of the fourth dimension is defied by his friend Alan Young.
If that machine can do what you say it can, destroy it, George, before it destroys you.
Every moment is a year, hurtling through the atomic wars of the future on an incredible excursion into the unknown. What are the people like? The shape of things to come. It's lovely Yvette Mimieux. And what happens when boy meets girl thousands of years hence?
How do they wear their hair?
Who?
The women of your time.
Up like that?
Show me.
Is this the human race of the future? Or is this the Morlocks, fiendish creatures who live in a weird underground world? And the Eloi, the tranquil sunshine people, who the Morlocks dominate and maintain like cattle, luring them below with the hypnotic wail of the sirens, to feed upon them in cannibalistic horror.
Beatles cartoon. the voice.
At number 4, Mr. Joe Townsel has The Time Machine, the original. Tell us about this pick.
Well, it is the original. Like the other H.G. Wells movie we just talked about. I didn't mean to have 2 in a row, but that's okay. It had its own remake later on, which had its own qualities, and I admired that. But I'd rather focus on the original. As the announcer that John so capably identified told us, I mean, the star power at the time in this movie, first of all, was phenomenal. Rod Taylor, a Vietnamese who was 17 when this movie was made.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
Yes, so she was every bit the age of her character, maybe younger.
Yeah.
And again, as far as holding up for a, I'm going to again embarrass myself by not knowing the exact year. I'm thinking 60, 1960, right?
60. Oh,
yeah, a little bit later than War of the Worlds, as it turns out. But again, holding up so many years later, still terrifying. I mean, the Morlocks, my goodness.
Yeah,
and
those Morlocks were really scary.
They do hold up. I mean, the makeup was phenomenal.
Yeah,
the whole underground system of where Morlocks, devolved into when the human race split into the Eloi and the Morlock civilizations, if you can call each one of them that. And social commentary abounded, more so probably in the movie adaptation over the novel. Again, coming from different time periods, but making their own comments on their respective time periods.
Yeah.
Just a thrill ride. Again, John, help me out here. The Scotty, played by Alan Young, the Scotty basically of the movie.
Yes. But every version of time of the Time Machine has some version of that guy.
Of course.
Which is funny. It's like the friend of the inventor who like asks him all the tough questions.
And just the overall concept. I mean, simplistic, sure, but the fact that the fourth dimension is time. I mean, I can't discount it. Can you? I mean, everything else makes sense. Length, width, breadth, and time.
What's great is, a lot of. I mean, if I may, generalize on your choices, Joe. You've got so many foundational movies that people who didn't even know what science fiction was would be like, well, this is from a famous book. Maybe I should go check it out. And it helped popularize science fiction to have these movies like The Time Machine, War of the Worlds. These are things everybody could relate to. Whereas, Santa Claus versus the Martians was what most people thought sci-fi was, or bug-eyed aliens, flying saucers in the 50s. But this is more literary and this is more immediate. And I think our grandparents knew what science fiction was because of movies like this, really high quality movies.
And there are 2 very heartbreaking scenes in this. Again, spoilers. When they take, oh my goodness, Yvette Munoz. I heard my
character's name.
I just said it too, but anyway, you know who I mean. When the Morlocks take her down below and say, "Oh no, not her, not that sweet little thing." But you know what really broke my heart when even as a youngster watching this, was when the Eloi take the time traveler to the ancient library and the books just crumble into his hands from neglect, and everything is forgotten. Civilization is gone, and that was a profound statement.
That's really interesting. Holy cow! Yeah, and that hit you, right? Watching these books like just disappear. There's no replacement for them.
No, that was it. I mean, especially before the age of course, Google doesn't exist anymore in the year 872,000 plus, whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was way in the future. But yeah, just like, again, watching that as a kid, I go, wow, that's it, huh? I mean, that's what we're destined for. And you do have the bit of hope, of course, that things might be a little bit different, maybe not.
Right.
But at any rate, it was just a stellar cast. Again, wildly speculative fiction also.
Yeah.
And terrifying. I would say aliens almost, although they are a offshoot of the human race.
So they're underground. They're like in the middle of Earth, or those what did you guys call them? Morlocks, or what are they called?
They're called Morlocks. They were made up in this movie they got brutish actors, and they were basically made up in blue makeup head to toe with long white hair and glowing eyes and fangs.
Yeah, I was watching them on the video on my end.
Exactly. And they devolved from, basically the human race split into two. And you remember the air raid siren, and maybe that was from War of the Worlds actually, but at some point, we were always conditioned, especially in the 60s, when you hear the air raid siren, you go underground to escape the nuclear bombs.
That's right.
So when that happened, the ones that went underground, devolved from there.
Oh, okay.
Until they eventually, harvested. They took care of the Eloi, the simple blonde-headed kids up above, and who just provided for them. They didn't have to do anything. As such, they had no drive or ambition at all to better themselves. And whenever the little air raid siren would go off from the Morlocks caves, then the Eloi were conditioned to go down into the pit where the Morlocks were to be consumed.
Oh,
food delivery. Uber Eats back in the day.
Uber Eats.
Uber Eats. Morlock Eats.
Yeah. That's very cool. Another one I gotta be on the lookout for. I think this one's also like a Screen Factory one, probably. I gotta be on the lookout for this.
Definitely recommend it.
And this would be 2 movies in a row for you that are not just H.G. Wells, but also George Pal. Special effects. And he was huge. He really, again, he defined a lot of science fiction for a long time.
He did. And as I say, you can look at science fiction movies from 25 years ago, like Jason X. I'm kidding.
Jason X.
that don't hold up, but these do. There's very little about these. Oh, that looks fake, or you really get engrossed in it still.
Yeah.
After going on 75 years for some of these.
So I can watch this and I'll be like, oh man, this holds up. This is a good one.
I believe so. You will.
Okay.
Yeah. There was a really nice remake of it. It wouldn't make anybody's top 5, I don't think, but Guy Pearce.
Yes.
And a villain that he encounters, like the villain behind the Morlocks, played by Jeremy Irons. And he's so good. And his Alan Young was played by Mark Addy.
Right.
And special effects were amazing. And they actually solved the library thing in that movie because they revive a computer who's played by Orlando Jones from
Orlando
Mad TV.
Jones. Yeah. That guy's funny.
And they revive him. They actually get him working again. So the books and knowledge don't disappear. He's there as a hologram to teach the Eloi at the end. I've ruined the end for you, but it's very sweet.
It's a good remake. I'll add one advantage that the remake has over the original, in that the depiction of the Eloi to me was more realistic, in the sense that everybody the human side of civilization kind of evolved into a light brown, semi-ethnic, appearance. Because over the centuries, everybody just became one group of people. I admired that, especially. Yeah. But John, you did mention in my mind, a couple of weaknesses. I didn't care for them solving the library problem.
Yeah.
I thought that was a little bit hokey.
It is.
And I absolutely, even though I admired his Jeremy Irons' performance, to me, having an Uber Morlock, as he was billed in the movie,
right,
to me, it was like having a Borg queen almost. You don't really see individuals in this sect,
right?
They're just a hive of killers, basically.
Right.
So,
right.
2 different takes, but another advantage too that I really thought the remake had, but that did answer the question, like, well, what if you do go back and try to change things again and again? Are certain things destined to fate? And for the time traveler, that turned out to be the case, at least for his true love back in the 1800s.
Yeah.
So it's definitely worth a watch. I do recommend the original over the remake, but there are different features of both that I think are appealing.
Yeah. Okay. I'll keep an eye out for sure. Very cool pick. All right. Now I'm going to go to my number 4 pick.
Steven Spielberg and Robert Zemeckis bring you back to the magic.
Are you telling me you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
Back to the fantastic.
It works!
Back to the action.
Whoa, this is heavy.
Back to the past.
It's an absolute dream.
Take it from yourself.
Back to the future. Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd. In Back to the Future, rated PG. Sneak preview.
Speaking of time machines, that's a good transition.
Yes.
I've got the original. Segue. Yeah, the original Back to the Future. This is not one that...
Didn't somebody mention hover cars a minute ago? Okay.
Yeah, we mentioned hover cars. It's all coming full circle. I actually never saw this one growing up. Never saw it as a kid. Like, obviously, I was aware of Back to the Future.
Right.
But you know how we're talking about movies holding up. The time machine still holds up. Mm-hmm. This was one that I saw in my 30s. And I was a little, like, worried because I was like, is it going to look... crappy? Is it going to look super fake? Right. Is the CGI going to be really bad? And I thought that this movie was freaking awesome. And that's when I knew, like, this is a great movie. Because I watched it. I didn't watch it growing up. You know, sometimes you watch something growing up, and then even if it's not as great as it is, you're in your head because of the nostalgia. Oh, no, it's still great. It's still great because of the nostalgia bias, right?
Death Race 2000, man.
Death Race 2000.
I mean, you look at it now and it's like, what was their budget? $100?
So, so for me, this one, I was like, oh man, this is a great movie. And I didn't grow up with it. My only exposure to Back to the Future growing up was the ride at Universal Studios.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea.
That I think now is like in Japan or somewhere. It's not even in the United States anymore.
No, they moved it along.
Well, yeah. All the best stuff's made in Japan. Doc Brown told us so, didn't he?
Yeah, so just like a super fun, I thought it was a super fun movie. So this is kind of like a sci-fi comedy adventure, I guess. But and I love Crispin Glover. There's a Friday the 13th guy in there. Crispin Glover.
Oh, yeah.
Was in Final Chapter. Friday the 13th, the Final Chapter. One of the best dance scenes in any movie. So, yeah, I loved it. I love this one. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this one, John.
Oh, a ton. Joe, how old would you say you were? Because you're just a little bit younger than me, but we're old fellas. So I think it was about 20 when I saw this.
You've been older. The movie actually came out the year it was set, and that was 85. So that would make us 23 and you possibly 24, depending on,
Right. That's right. And I remember it was a great date movie.
Yes.
Like, I took a girl to this movie, and we had an amazing time that night. It was true. The fact that I don't have some punk kid across the room going, "Dad, you're so stupid." It's amazing. It's amazing that didn't happen. It was a Steven Spielberg production. Zemeckis is a great director.
Yes.
And it was really time that Michael J. Fox become a star at that point. He'd been around on the TV show Family Ties and was very popular. And his I can't remember what his original name is, but he actually named himself Michael J. because there's another actor, Michael J. Pollard. You got to check out Michael J. Pollard. You've seen him in something.
Oh, absolutely. Well, he was in Bonnie and Clyde, wasn't he?
Oh, he was. He was like a young guy in Bonnie and Clyde.
So he was a fan of him, so he wanted to pay homage to him?
Yes, which is wild because he was such an unusual actor. He's such kind of a misfit actor. You can spot him in the Grups episode. Is it the Grups episode of original Star Trek, Joe?
Oh, yes. There you go. In Miri.
Miri, that's right.
Yeah.
He's in Miri. But anyway, so off the beaten track here, just to show off some trivia knowledge. Dude. That's actually for me a franchise I love. I don't dislike any of the movies. Back to the Future to me holds together all of it. And I would watch it. I would definitely sit down and watch it. So I'm kind of jealous, Tiburon, that you put that on your list. I should have put it on my list. That's a really good movie.
Yeah. Honestly,
we all have our turns. So.
Yeah. Honestly, I Googled like sci-fi movies, like best sci-fi movies. And I was just kind of combing through and kind of annoyed that Jason X wasn't on there. So that's why I put it on my list. But then, some of them I was like, oh, I like that. And Back to the Future was one of them. And I guess I never really thought about it as a sci-fi movie. But I'm like, no, it's time traveling. It's sci-fi.
Entirely. And it introduces a lot of ideas that may or may not have moved on. But one of them is, don't change the past. That's such a solid for all time travel movies. Don't change the past. If you change the past and you look at a picture of you and your siblings are disappearing. But it also had that weird thing where his mom as a teenager has a huge crush on him, and she's trying to put the makeup on him. And
that was the only part that I was like, man, that's a little bit trippy. Your mom is hitting your young mom is hitting on you.
You mean my mom has the hots for me?
This is heavy. What is it with gravity in the future? Oh, and of course, Christopher Lloyd. Oh my God, I love me some Christopher Lloyd playing the Doc.
Tell me, I would start. Joe, favorite Christopher Lloyd character in any movie?
Oh, Doc Brown.
Doc Brown. You too, John?
No hesitation there. And that comes from a long list of characters. I mean, we loved Reverend Jim in Taxi. That's where we first got to know him. Yeah. And Judge Doom and Roger Rabbit, of course, is another great one.
Oh, that might be mine. Though I at first didn't like his Klingon from, I think
Krug.
Krug from, and I think that's Star Trek 3.
That's right.
Search for Spock.
Yeah.
I didn't love him at first, but now whenever I see it, I'm like, oh, he's so good.
A little Reverend Jim slipped in there, says, "Tell me about your doomsday weapon."
Okay, dokey.
Damn.
But Doc Brown is a great character. Would
you say that's the role he's known for, right? It's the Doc Brown.
I would say so. I mean, we got a whole trilogy here. The third movie, which is really entirely about him. And yes, I think that's probably his best known character.
That's the one I've never seen. I thought that was a bad one, but other people that are fans of Back to the Future, they're like, no, that one's good too. Watch part 3. I've never seen 3.
If I made that kind of segues into my thoughts on. I mean, my thoughts are Back to the Future is really the perfect trilogy. Now, my personal favorite is part 2, just because of the mind bending. Jumping back and forth. Yeah. But I got to say, we are talking about the first one, so let's stick to that. The first one stands out because it's the Back to the Future with heart. I mean, we basically, the young man gets to see his parents as contemporaries, as teenagers his age. These are emotional elements that are kind of missing in the sequels. And that was what they weren't going for that, so that's okay. But it really did have a lot of heart. There was a lot of emotional payoff in that movie. Yes, a lot of silliness. And if Tiburon, cut me off whenever you like, but I'm gonna throw out, and here comes that dreaded phrase: Townsel's tidbits.
Townsel's tidbits.
Townsel's tidbits.
This is why I brought you guys on, to drop the knowledge.
Okay, well, I got a few. So it's actually kind of common knowledge that John, help me. Eric Stoltz was originally cast and filmed a lot of scenes as Marty McFly.
He did.
Before it was determined that he just was not right for the role. I mean, these scenes are available on YouTube, and you can see why they scrapped 6 weeks of shooting.
What is he known for? I've heard that name, but what is he known for? Stoltz.
Do you remember The Fly 2? That movie?
Never saw it. I know that's the son. Okay. Where he's the son of the Seth Brundle, right?
Son of the Fly. How about Mask?
With Cher.
Not The Mask with Jim Carrey, but Mask, a true story about Rocky Mask.
Yeah, I've probably seen him, but because the name sounds very familiar. Eric Stoltz.
I'll give you one more. It's a teenage movie. Some Kind of Wonderful. He just plays a typical John Hughes protagonist in that. But look him up. You'll probably recognize him from something.
Yeah, I'm sure I will.
But
super nice guy, by the way. I actually did an acting job with him.
Oh, really?
I'll hear something about that.
Just a doll. Just one of the nicest guys you could work with. Super sweet guy. And this was after all of this stuff.
Right, and absolutely no comment on his acting ability in Back to the Future. It just wasn't right.
Yeah.
And the reason they didn't get Michael J. Fox in the first place because he was involved with Family Ties. And so ultimately, to get him back, he had to agree to work on Back to the Future at nights and on weekends.
Oh,
because he's filming Family Ties during the week, during the day. But I think the last thing I want to throw out there as far as the Townsel tidbit, the DeLorean was originally a refrigerator. Believe it or not.
Oh, that kind of
an idea.
Yeah, the DeLorean was a refrigerator. Oh, so the fridge was going to be a time machine.
That's exactly what I'm saying. And
right.
This was an idea that was recycled later for Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
That's right. Oh my God, that's right. I forgot about that because the thing that was supposed to power it was supposed to be a nuclear explosion. Or I'm sorry, an atomic bomb explosion.
An atomic bomb, yes. And they wisely chose, not with the Indiana Jones, but with Back to the Future, not to show this because they didn't need little kids climbing into refrigerators, and I'm having issues there. But the movie was really a great time. I saw it with my best friend from high school when it came out, and it just was really entertaining, something totally different, and a great choice, Mario. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it because I did the whole trilogy, and Zemeckis has sworn, I believe him. Please, gang, quit clamoring for Back to the Future Part 4. It's not going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
They told the story.
Why wouldn't it happen? Right. Why not?
Because they told the story. It's done.
But everything gets like a sequel now, though.
Well, they got two, and they did. That's why I call it the perfect trilogy, Mario, because it told 3 stories to form one big story, beginning, middle, and end, done.
Yeah.
And please go back and look at Part 3. It's not complete without it.
Okay, I need to watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll dig it. It's I didn't want to see it because it didn't look science fiction enough to me.
Because they're in like a Western place, right?
They're in the Old West.
Yeah.
Well, they go back to the 1800s, yes.
Yeah. But it really does cap everything off. And one more thing I can throw at you. I don't know if you saw the movies that made us on Netflix. But there's one.
I've seen the toys. I've never seen the movies one. I've seen the toys that made us, not the movies that made
us. Yes. There's a movies version. And a lot of movies that you love are in there. So you're going to love those.
Yeah.
Halloween's in there. Aliens is in there. But a lot of tidbits can be found in watching that one. That's how I know. Joe does research. I don't. I watch TV.
I don't even. I'm too lazy to do research, John. My mind just absorbs.
I was gonna say it's probably it's all
sponge.
All in there. What is that? The hippocampus and the hippocampus in there somewhere. It's stored.
It's stored, and I don't know why, but I figure I might as well run with it when I have the chance.
It's one of the beautiful things about being partnered with a writer is he does have this steel trap mind. And I'm like, what was the blue guy? There was a dog. And then I think he loved a band called The Beats. No one knows. It's, I'm trying to think of Doug from
Doug Funny. Skeeter? You're talking about
Joe
Skeeter?
Knows.
Skeeter.
Yeah, his buddy Skeeter. I think Skeeter was blue, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Glad you guys dug that pick because like I said, I didn't grow up with it, and sometimes movies get so overhyped. You watch them, it doesn't match the hype. This is one of the movies that I always heard. Oh man, Back to the Future. And when I saw it, I was like, okay, I get it. Like I see why people dig it. Yeah, great movie. All right, we're gonna go now to Captain John's number 3 pick.
I die within 5 minutes of landing on that beach. The invasion failed. We lose everything. Now I live the same day over and over.
You have to die until you change the outcome.
They know we're coming! Finish it!
Edge of Tomorrow, rated PG-13, starts June 6th.
A lot of alien invasions on Captain John's list. We got Edge of Tomorrow at number 3.
And I'll tell you, this is my final alien invasion one But yeah, that to me, and honestly, I didn't put up a lot of my alien invasion movies. There's a ton that I have not listed, but that to me is like a big like trip. That pushes my buttons. Just what if one day they show up with their own flag and they plant it and they go, this belongs to us and you guys are food or whatever, slaves, whatever. But let's talk about Edge of Tomorrow. It is so basic in the sense that if you know Groundhog Day, you know, like the most difficult, principle in this movie. He keeps reliving the same experience over and over and over.
Oh, okay. So it's like a Groundhog Day. It's like just the same day keeps repeating?
Same day keeps repeating. Same sequence of events keeps repeating until he tries to find ways of changing it. And probably one of the greatest tests to me, my wife does like sci-fi. And she's like wide open to all my favorite genres. She watches all the Marvel stuff with me, all the DC stuff. She'll watch all these kooky things that I love to watch. She loves The Boys on and Invincible on Amazon. Like she really digs like very guy-oriented stuff. And she had never seen this. And so she was looking at my list and she was like, Edge of Tomorrow. And I'm like, do you remember Emily Blunt, Tom Cruise, big story, beautiful. It looks like what a war would look like. The first battle he's in looks like Omaha Beach from Saving Private Ryan. It's scary stuff, very scary looking. And I gotta admit, I know he's kind of a weird dude, but man, Tom Cruise, I just like him as a movie star, and he's really good in this. You guys haven't seen this?
I've never seen it. Have you, Joe?
Oh, absolutely. I've seen it. Yes.
Yeah.
Now I can't remember, John. Is the sequel out yet, or is that a recent release? I haven't seen the sequel.
I think I only heard them talking about the sequel seriously, like in the last 6-7 months.
So it's probably still coming out. I don't think it's out yet, but
I imagine. Yeah, I imagine the strike probably slowed them down.
Right.
So this one's fairly modern. This one's like fairly recent. Edge of Tomorrow, or early 2000s.
Yeah, pretty recent. I think. I think it's like the 20-teens.
Okay.
I was gonna say 20-teens.
Okay, that's fairly. This is probably the most recent one then from all of our lists.
Probably. I mean, looking at my movies, it certainly is.
It's between that and the War of the Worlds, the original, the more recent ones, I think.
Yeah. The nice thing about it is it's just a really okay. So my wife had never seen it, and Joe and I were doing Retro Rangers one night, and she was up at the house, and she was watching it all by herself. So like after we were done, I go up to the house. I'm like, "Hey, honey, oh my God, you're watching Edge of Tomorrow," and I had to ask the question, like, is it as good as I said it was? And she's like, I freaking love it. This is a great movie. I totally get why you like this movie. I know. And I thought I was such a dork for liking it because I don't remember it being like a big movie that everybody was like, stop everything. This movie's out and it's fantastic. It was just like, yeah, another movie. It's science fiction. It's got Tom Cruise in it. Whatever. Anyway, hey, there's a new movie over there. Let's go look at it. But I loved this movie. It has some weird tropes in it. Like, well, you got to destroy this one thing and that will make all the other things die. That to me is like one of the biggest, like, what a cheat, Like, we can't possibly defeat all of these enemy ships in the movie Independence Day. Oh, but if we go to their core and shut that down, everything's just a drone and it'll just fall out of the sky. Most invasion movies end like that. So,
Martians catching the cold, that type of
thing. Or sneeze on them, I guess, apparently.
I mean, I kind of love that about War of the Worlds because we didn't actually beat them. The thing that we don't die from is what they died from. You know,
But-
we get the sniffles. They died.
But we still take the credit, though, right? As true Americans, we take the credit.
Hell yeah, kick their asses by getting over my weekend cold and they killed them.
Well, one thing.
Oh, go ahead, John.
No, please, John. You're still completing your thoughts.
No, I was just going to say the funniest thing about War of the Worlds, the Steven Spielberg remake with Tom Cruise, is that they wanted to explain it in a voiceover. And like the biggest cliche in the world, who's going to do the
Morgan
voiceover?
Freeman. Morgan Freeman.
Hi, I'm Morgan Freeman. Well, a tiny little germ was the one who killed everybody on Earth, who wasn't supposed to be there. Like, damn. Man, Spielberg's got all the money in the world. I bet Morgan Freeman got an amazing payday for like one recording session. Well, who knew what was below the ground? Why, it was some Martians. Anyway, I love Morgan Freeman.
I love him too. I was just,
Please forgive that.
I was picturing when he's talking about Andy. Andy was my friend.
Andy was my friend.
Yeah, what do you think about this one, Joe? The Edge of, what is it called? The Edge of Tomorrow?
Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Edge of Tomorrow. The Edge of Tomorrow, of course, being that we never quite get to tomorrow, apparently. At least not until later in the movie. Again, spoilers, but
yeah,
I think it was a great one. I mean, Tom Cruise was really enjoying a good run of good science fiction movies at this point. The aforementioned War of the Worlds remake, Vanilla Sky was a really forgotten gem, I think.
That's true.
And of course, Oblivion. We were talking about that, John,
that's a
day or
great
two
movie.
ago. And The Edge of Tomorrow. I mean, excuse me, it utilizes kind of a subgenre of its own at this point. The old, we're repeating the same day over and over again. There's no name for it yet, so it's not quite a subgenre, but it's getting there because it's a trope that's used quite a bit. But you know what? It depends on how it's used, and here it's used to great effect.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you tell people about it, as John points out, oh, Groundhog Day. Well, okay, granted. You know, Groundhog Day was preceded by a short film called 1201, which this guy lived the same day over and over again.
Oh, wow.
And
I did not know that.
I didn't know that either. I didn't know that either.
Yes.
And if I may, guys, I'm gonna give a totally unpaid promotion to an author who has unfortunately long since passed away. You know, I said earlier my favorite author is Stephen King.
Yeah,
which is true. My favorite book is The Stand. But I'll tell you what, my second favorite book of all time is a novel called Replay, written by an author named Ken Grimwood. I don't know if the book is still in print, but this guy wrote a do-over type book that it just outshines all of it. And I really recommend that as a really great read. It's something I'd pick up every year and reread.
Yeah.
And I won't go too much in the plot of that, but basically this is a guy who relived his entire life over and over again.
Jesus Christ.
And makes changes each time. So it's complex, yet it's quick and just a lot of fun. And he actually meets somebody, a woman who's going through the same thing. So they bond over that.
Yeah.
But getting back to Edge of Tomorrow, I mean, it was a hook for the story they were telling, which John says wasn't terribly complex, but it added a level of tension that added to the science fiction story. Again, another of Tom Cruise's successful sci-fi flicks of the last 15 years or so, I think.
I mean, you add in Minority Report, and then
yes,
you got this tremendous, resume for Tom Cruise for being in these great sci-fi films, and he's really likable. He's like the king of charisma, and that gets these movies made. So I kind of dig it. You know, I know he's kind of an odd guy, but my wife was in Jerry Maguire.
Your wife?
Oh,
really?
Yeah. Yeah, so if you ever watch Jerry Maguire, there is a blonde flight attendant
I'm gonna put her
pouring his campaign
and post edit. I'm gonna have to look for that. And put it
absolutely.
Put it here, right here.
and gentlemen, if I can, I wouldn't promote this because this is a work that's in the future.
Yeah.
But I will say this: if I don't follow through on this promise, hopefully nobody will call me on it. But the mysteriously mentioned science fiction novel I said I'm going to write after my current book I'm working on will be he's living the same life day over and over again type of scenario.
Oh, interesting.
So it seemed an appropriate time to bring that up, but that's the thought behind that. So as always, stay tuned.
It's a rich genre.
At joetownsel.com. Keep an eye out.
You can visit joetownsel.com many times. It's like a Disney property.
There you go.
You're always going to have a good time every visit.
There you go. All right. So, okay, that was number 3.
That's my number 3.
I'm going to go to Joe Townsel's number 3 pick now.
Ooh.
We interrupt this program to give you a bulletin just received from one of our naval units at sea. A large object traveling at supersonic speed is headed over the North Atlantic toward the east coast of the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Drew Pearson. We bring you this special radio television broadcast in order to give you the very latest information on an amazing phenomenon: the arrival of a spaceship in Washington. The Army has taken every precaution to meet any emergency which may develop. Just a minute, ladies and gentlemen, I think something is happening.
Number 2, Joe Townsel's got The Day That Earth Stood Still. The original. 1951, it says here.
Yes, Roger Ebert, my personal favorite movie critic, once said, "Why do they always remake good movies? They should remake bad ones and make them better." But they do remake good movies, and often to good effect. The Keanu Reeves version is not bad. But you can't beat the original in terms of The Day the Earth Stood Still. I mean, this is often misidentified, I think, as an alien invasion movie. It is not.
Right.
It is a cautionary tale in the truest sense, saying that, to use the title of another movie of the time, no man is an island. And by that, it's like, you're not alone in the universe. We were talking about this a while ago. We are being watched. We are being observed. And fortunately, in this case, for our own good, although there is real jeopardy involved, can we redeem ourselves as a race and as a society before the dreaded deadline to annihilation? And there's the suspense. And of course, you can't go wrong with Klaatu, that really insidious robot type being who's come to tell us the intentions of the alien visitors. And they're just warning us, you've gotten to a point of development that you can go one way or the other, and we want to make sure you go the right way or no way at all. So really, really tense, not huge action oriented, just really cerebral for its time and very thought provoking.
What was the year on this one?
1951.
51. There you go. Go. So still, in people's minds and hearts are Hiroshima, Nagasaki, the threat of many other possible uses of atomic weapons, especially since other countries, not just the United States, had them, and a level of paranoia caused by communism. And there was also a very common thread among UFO enthusiasts at the time that aliens were like us, but wiser, more experienced, more worldly, if you will. And so they would show up and they'd be like, you guys in your atomic weapons, you're screwing up. Listen to us. We know. And there was this sort of Space Brothers era of what aliens think and how they operate. And that was interesting, too. That's a big part of science fiction.
Now, if you want to enjoy a very short segment of the 1980s Twilight Zone, look up on YouTube a segment called A Small Talent for War, and you'll get kind of, as I say, the flip side of The Day the Earth Stood Still. A nice little companion piece, as it were.
Oh.
And I did notice, Joe, with your so far 5, 4, and 3 pick, all of them, they have remakes, right? But you said the original for these 3. I'm choosing the original one. But there's remakes for all these 3 movies you picked so far.
Yeah.
I made that clear, didn't I, Mario? Yes, I would.
You put it in captions. You text me on the side. You call me.
Yes, I think that's pretty much for the remakes in my list of 5. But yes, as they say,
Oh, we lose Joe. There you go. You're back.
Oh, just a little freeze there, Joe. Sorry.
Yeah, but you did put in parentheses original. I'm like, okay, he likes the originals. He doesn't want the remakes for these.
Well, just because I was too lazy to look up the years they came out to put those in the parentheses.
Well, I got to tell you, I have not seen the remake of this movie, but I love Keanu Reeves. I don't dislike him at all. But, hey, I come from the stars. You guys gotta stop, destroying stuff, okay? Oh, damn, Keanu. Are you really the guy? I mean, don't get me wrong. I love him as John Wick, but come on. The guy shot my dog. He's a good man with a good heart. Yeah.
But have you seen...
I don't know why they...
Have you seen this one, John?
I have not. I have actually seen this one. I saw this one when I was a little kid, and what's always been tough for me, and maybe the modern youth can relate to this as well, is if something was too talky and it didn't have enough new, science fiction-y special effects and stuff. If it was really stingy on that stuff, I would have a hard time staying with it. I have attention deficit problems that were never diagnosed, but this one was very talky. But the atmosphere, I think anyone could dig that now. You could definitely watch this and get a feel for how grim, because it's black and white, and it's very oppressive. It's a very oppressive time, and very militaristic, and the music was amazing. One of those movies that was heavy on the theremin.
Oh, okay.
Which is that. That's the theremin.
Oh, man. All right, man. I don't think I've seen looking at your list, I don't think I've seen any of these movies. So I got a lot of buying to do. I go a lot to thrift stores and flea market, so I'm always trying on the hunt for cheap movies, dollar Blu-rays. So I'll keep an eye out for these ones for sure.
I think that's the smartest thing in the world, to have physical media.
Yes, I agree.
Behind me right there.
Exactly.
I bought War of the Worlds, the Tom Cruise ones, because I was on your guys' YouTube show last year, Haunted Radio in Space, and when we listened to the War of the Worlds radio thing, I was like, okay, let me look for those movies, and I really like that Tom Cruise one. I have yet to find the original one. So I still gotta watch that one.
Yeah, and it'll be very different. You'll have a different experience watching the other one. I like that too. I like when the remake is different enough that it's oh yeah, I didn't just watch a shot-for-shot remake.
Yeah.
But I had heard a lot of things about this one, that the remake was very dependent on the original. You might as well watch the original. Day the Earth Stood Still.
Yeah, what a title too. All right.
Yeah. Well,
I'm gonna go to
very doom-oriented in those days.
So I'm gonna go a little bit lighter. I'm gonna go to my number 3 pick. A little bit lighter sci-fi movie. Here we go.
Our world is facing an unstoppable threat. Send in the Guardians.
What the hell? I don't got that long a lifespan anyway.
August 1st.
So here we are. A thief, 2 thugs, an assassin, and a maniac.
Who are you? We're the Guardians of the Galaxy. Who? Forget it.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
So at my number 3, I've got the original Guardians of the Galaxy. You brought him up a little bit earlier, John.
I did. I didn't even know that was one of your picks.
One of my picks. I rewatched it recently for the purpose of this episode. I was like, man, this is a fun movie. I first saw. Yeah, it's a fun one.
It didn't lose a step, did it? Like,
no, it's fun.
Yeah.
And part of me was like, I feel like Marvel, it's like its own thing. Like it's almost like its own category of movies. You know, like its own thing. Like when I think action movies, I sometimes like, you know, I think about like Stallone movies, Schwarzenegger. Yeah. When I think of Marvel, I'm like, that's its own thing. That's like superhero Marvel movie. Still love them. But
I agree. I absolutely agree.
But this one I saw when I was dating my wife. We were
it's a Marvel universe. I mean,
yeah,
so it stands to reason.
Yeah,
yeah.
So this one I saw when I was dating my wife, and I had like zero expectations because I didn't know who the Guardians of the Galaxy were. I never read the comic book, so I kind of went in with like no expectation, and I was like blown away by it. I was like, damn, this is a fun, like Star Wars like kind of movie, and you know, Batista, our boy Batista's in there as Drax, and you know, I got Chris Pratt as a Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon.
Bradley Cooper as Rocket Raccoon,
Vin
doing
Diesel.
a character he's never done before. Yeah, Vin Diesel.
Diesel making the easiest money ever. He says, "Is I am Groot. I am Groot."
I want to, you know what? I know that's a good joke, and it's a good joke. But I just want to give Vin Diesel some credit. And good Lord, I never thought these words would come out of my mouth. But he was told, okay, at this point in the movie, your character is really sad. So give us 3 of those. And he's like, yeah, okay. I am Groot. I am Groot. I am Groot. So he's doing the acting. He's doing the emotions, but he doesn't say anything other than I am Groot for most of the movie.
Yeah.
And it's real. It's like a real acting job. Like he's like, oh, in this one he's kind of curious. I am Groot.
Yeah.
That's another one too where I can watch any of them. Like I love them. The last one's actually tough because the villain is so cruel to animals.
That one made me sad. The last one.
That one rough. I have only watched that one once so far, but the other ones, oh God.
I'm not someone that likes to cry, but that one I had like the knot. Like the knot in my throat, like, oh man, I don't want to watch this anymore.
I had the red nose, I had the headache, you know, the crying headache. I had it all. And you know, like I'm hugging my dog. My dog's like, do you have to hug me so hard? I'm like, oh, the animals are being tortured. Oh. But the High Evolutionary is from the comics, and he was a terrible villain. He was a torturous, awful villain. So, yeah, well portrayed, honestly.
Yeah.
You
a fan of this one, Joe? Have you seen this one? I think Joe's still glitching. Oh, no. You should try turning off your camera, Joe. See if maybe for a little bit.
Oh, sure. I mean,
maybe
honestly,
there you go. I'll put a picture of you right there. Send me a selfie, and I'll put it on there. Post.
That doesn't seem any better.
Oh, there you go.
All right,
you have 4 bars right now.
Yeah, it's
going back and forth between 2 and 4. But anyway, if that continues, I'll send you something, and you can, because you're hearing me okay, just so my image is freezing. Is that right?
Yeah, that's why sometimes like I just tell people turn off your camera, and then it's fine. Like the camera takes more internet, I think, for some reason.
Okay, I'll keep an eye on the bars for us. But to answer your question, Mario, yes, of course. I mean, as far as the MCU, I think everything up to Endgame, I'm a big fan of, which of course would include Guardians of the Galaxy. And I know that Part 3 went beyond that point. Big fan of all of them. I mean, not a multiple viewing experience for me. It was kind of a one and done on the Guardians of the Galaxy for my viewing habits. But thoroughly enjoyed them all. And again, for what it is, it's just kind of goofy pseudo superhero stuff, and I loved it.
Yeah. What about you, John?
Guardians of the Galaxy, the comic books are incredibly different. They're much different characters, introduced in a different order. Quite a few characters that are in there, like Gamora. I don't remember Gamora being part of the Guardians of the Galaxy comic universe. She was part of a different universe drawn by Jim Starlin, which was around the character Warlock, and Thanos was in that. But I do love how in recent years they kind of did a remix of all of it. I always love when they change stuff. I'm very different from a lot of comic book fans in that way. If you do a remix of something, that's awesome. Show it to me. I can totally appreciate what you were going for, as opposed to the Batman would never do that. Why is the Flash not blonde? He's supposed to be blonde. Like, yeah, I'm not invested like that in my comic book love.
Yeah.
So
I went into it blind, so I didn't know anything. I was like, oh, these characters are cool. I dig these ones. And these are like, my wife doesn't love all Marvel movies, but these are the ones where I'm like, hey, I want to watch the new Guardians. Oh, I like that. Let's go watch that. So I know that.
Yeah, that's great.
They're easy to.
Yeah,
like
my wife.
Yeah.
My wife totally digs it too, and which is great, because it's a little harder to sell her on like Madam Web or something like that. a little harder to sell her on some of these comic book things, but yeah, this one I think almost anybody can like it. It's a really great movie.
And it's got Howard the Duck at the end.
Oh my God, that's right! Again, another character.
Yeah,
that whole like nowhere, like where the Watcher is, like all that stuff was so cool, and I think that's fairly recent in the comics too. I got to give them credit for that.
Yeah, I was excited. I was like, oh, Howard the Duck. I used to love that movie. Is that a sci-fi movie? Would you consider that sci-fi?
I would, because your villain is sci-fi.
Yeah.
He comes from a universe where everything on his planet is ducks instead of humans. And again, Leah Thompson, who plays the mom who's horny for her son in Back to the Future, also plays a gal who's horny for a duck. Leah Thompson is not a freak. But on screen, she a freak.
She's like pigeonholed as a freak.
But I mean, fairly recently, was it on Picard or oh God, what Star Trek show was it, Joe? Where Leah Thompson, she's directing
Strange New Worlds.
Strange New Worlds.
Yeah,
she's directed. She played a couple. She played a character. She did a couple of like little scenes, but she's also directing, and she's a great director. So yeah, much love to that freak.
I did not know that.
I did not know that either.
Oh!
You are correct, sir. All right, so we're gonna go now to we're in the top twos. We're gonna go to Captain John's number 2 pick. I've always wanted to see this movie, so I'm really interested to hear what this one's about. Here we go. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you will dig this movie as hard as I do.
Okay. Let's check
Joe
it out.
Townsel.
Let's check it out, though. Let's play the little trailer for this. Let's check out what number 2 pick is here.
Max Wren is a victim.
I woke up with a headache.
He has been exposed to Videodrome.
I've been hallucinating for a while, ever since...
What?
Since I first saw Videodrome.
Please, come to me now. Come to Nikki.
And Max Wren can do nothing to stop it.
Long live the new Flash.
It will shatter your reality. Videodrome, starring Deborah Harry and James Woods. A shocking new vision from the creator of Scanners.
I love that dude's voice. Who is that dude?
Right?
Who is? Do you guys know who that is? Who is that?
I'm not sure who that guy is. The guy who has this rasp in his voice.
I love that voice. But at number 2, Captain John's got Videodrome. David Cronenberg's Videodrome.
I had to put a David Cronenberg movie in there somewhere. And I honestly didn't have to go with Videodrome. I could have gone with Scanners, which is a really exciting movie. And Cronenberg is such a fascinating dude. He's Canadian. He's where most Hollywood guys would take a right turn. He takes left turns. He does his own thing in his own world. And Videodrome is such an antagonistic, negative. I mean, I don't like James Woods as a person. He's done and said some really horrible stuff. He can be a really horrible dude. But he plays such an unlikable character that it holds up. He's the lead.
It suits him.
It suits him. Like, you wouldn't watch this and be like, oh, I hate supporting James Woods. Because you'd be watching it going like, yeah, look at you, James Woods. Screwed up again. Did another terrible thing. Now you're living with the consequences. But he also is a victim in it. And there's a lot of sort of mystery and thriller elements to it. The stuff with Debbie Harry, who of course was the lead singer of the band Blondie, and very hot in the late 70s, early 80s. She was like a bigger.
We'll give her one of those.
And very like sexy, and there's like an S&M level to it. It's really twisted and deviant, as Cronenberg movies tend to be. It's very gritty and very seamy. And those are all good things to me. Those are all pluses. So yeah, check this one out because it is freaky.
So from your list, I was like, okay, I love Cronenberg. There's a lot of movies that I need to watch from Cronenberg, like Bad Taste, that I've heard they're really good. I've never seen Bad Taste, but I've heard it's really, really fun. But what makes this one a sci-fi movie? Like, what about it makes it sci-fi?
There is a video signal, and basically what James Woods is he's a guy who does like oh god, what were the public access stations? Because I remember there was a big one out here in LA that would show.
Generally, like, UHF was a kind of use that frequency, wasn't it?
Yeah. Although, yeah, and this one is about broadcast. This one is not about cable. But Mario, like Tiburon, when I first moved out here.
I'm just kidding. You call me Mario.
I ruined it.
You call me Mario. I don't care.
When we were, do you remember we would get together with our buddies and we would watch like old episodes of XPW TV
on public what was it? Public access, right? Yeah.
Right. In New York, they had that, and it was called Channel J, I think. And it was a public access station, and they would show these weird, like, commercials from around the world. They'd show, like, 2 minutes from an erotic film, but not with nudity.
Whoa,
hey, who ordered this pizza? Nice. Like, they would show, like, that stuff. And so James Woods plays a guy who basically finds these video signals that no one knows anything about, and he tries to make money off them. And he's a real sleazy dude.
Scumbag.
And so he finds this like evil sex channel, and he starts watching tapes of it, and he finds that it is changing his physiology. And just this whole idea that like you could watch something so messed up that it would transform you into some kind of creature.
Oh, that's crazy.
That's the basic level to it.
I'm in already.
And yeah. And he's not a great guy. So as you watch this downfall, you're like, you better not do that. Oh, you did it. Oh, you're screwed now. It's kind of one of those horror movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great visuals to it. Yeah, I really, this is definitely number 2 for me because it was such a strong experience watching it. And another one of those movies, I'll watch 20 minutes of it. I'll watch the whole thing. I'll watch 5 minutes of it. I love it.
Nice. How about you, Joe? Have you seen this one?
I sure have. It's been many years because it came out that long ago in my lifetime. But I tell you, I mean, it strikes me as adding what John had to say. It's one of the earlier examples of what I consider to be body horror in terms of the transformations. The gun literally grafting itself in and out of the guy's hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
To form like one solid weapon extending from his arm.
Yeah.
Of course, the pulsating VHS tape is like, Cronenberg was something else. I mean, he went on to do more mainstream stuff, of course. I mean, he did, of course, the first adaptation of The Dead Zone by Stephen King. Of course, more recently, we saw him act in Discovery, which is interesting.
Yeah, but it's so wild. He's a great actor, too, on Star Trek Discovery. It's wild.
Absolutely. And it just seemed that after Scanners, which was something else that, when we saw that, he definitely had the pressure to top himself, and he did with Videodrome.
And if you have, and I know you do, Tiburon, if you have a love for old VHS, like that's the time.
I have a VHS little section right here because I love VHS. I still love it. Some of my friends are like, why the hell do you have VHS? I'm like, why not? It's VHS.
I just love having them. I don't even have a VHS player anymore, but I have all these tapes.
You know what I love about VHS is that you get to watch like the trailers and like stuff you can't watch on like Blu-rays or 4Ks, like the old trailers for different like movies that were direct to VHS.
Yeah, yeah, and there's that old like look to VHS,
the grainy.
Yeah, this movie will bring that back to you. So that's another thing you get from this movie.
I thought I had it on VHS, but I don't think I do.
That's wild because this I would think would be kind of peak Tiburon.
Yeah, I need to watch. You know who else you guys were talking about? What movies Cronenberg acted in? Did you know he also acted in Jason X, making it more of a sci-fi movie? He's in Jason X.
Well, come on, that's it.
He's Jason's first victim, I think, and Jason impales him with like a spear in the like beginning of the movie.
Oh, like in the present day?
Yeah, I think when they like capture him and he's chained up, and then he breaks free and he grabs a spear and he throws it at Cronenberg and impales Cronenberg.
I love that. Actually, it kind of reminds me of I'm not sure John Carpenter ever did it. I know he had a series, it was like on Showtime or something called Body Bags. I think he was the host.
Oh, I think I've heard of that.
But I do love when these because we're going to be seeing it on Sunday when we do Retro Rangers.
Yeah.
We'll be looking at, is it A New Nightmare where Wes Craven is in the movie?
Yeah, New Nightmare.
Yes. I love when these guys are actually acting.
Yeah, I wonder what that's like if you're a director and you're always telling people how to act, but then you have to act. Who directs you? How does that work?
I'll tell you exactly what happens. Tiburon, we were in wrestling together.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to a wrestling show, but you don't have to build the ring.
Oh. Okay, so nobody tells them shit. Nobody tells them anything.
Well, I mean, and then it depends on the director. Sometimes, a lot of times on movies, directors will be like, I saw your audition, just do that. Like, very, very few directors really want to get into the acting with you because that takes time.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do, depending on the director. But somebody like Spielberg or Clint Eastwood, these guys are just like, just do what you do. I hired you. Just do your thing. And so when you hire a director, especially if you're a director and you hire another director, yeah, you're probably going to be like, bro, just do whatever feels good. And then, maybe after one take, you'll be like, can you push a little bit of this line and maybe, look at her over here, maybe do this with your hand. But that's it. That's all I need you to do. Whereas most actors are like, what? Why would my character do this? Why would my character do that? I'm sure directors are just like, yeah, where do I get to sit? Yeah. What do you want me to work with? Yeah, that's great. Let's do it.
Very cool. All right. Well, that was my number 3 pick. Was that my number 3 pick?
I'd be your number 2, right?
Oh, no, that was Captain John's. I'm already taking credit for a movie I never saw. Videodrome. That was Captain John's number 2 pick. We're going to go to Joe Townsel's number 2 pick.
References have been made to Yeats, Hawthorne, Sophocles, Descartes, Goethe, Schopenhauer, Melville, Hemingway, and others. Its beauty moved Charlie Chaplin to tears. The Saturday Review called it an extraordinary masterpiece that challenges some of the assumptions which have dominated serious writing for 100 years. It has been called the motion picture of the decade. It may turn out to be the film of the century. Stanley Kubrick's 2001, A Space Odyssey.
At number 2, Joe Townsel has 2001, A Space Odyssey. Tell us about this.
Yes,
one.
Indeed. Well, you know what? I'm probably one of the few. Well, I shouldn't say that. I am one of the people that actually read the books, and the movie, in my opinion, surpasses it. It's a divisive film, to be sure. A lot of people just don't. I'm not going to say they don't get it out of saying that they're not intelligent enough not to get it. It doesn't appeal to them. They just, I don't understand the appeal. I mean, the bloody thing opens with a half hour of monkeys dancing around a monolith. So, you got to be patient with this movie.
Right.
And it goes on to create. There is a saga involved that continues on in the sequels, 2010, 2061, and 3001. So there's an epic to be told. They didn't get past 2010, unfortunately. Maybe someday they'll complete the series. But with this one, it's like, it just impressed me as a young person at the time, because I was a preteen when I first saw this. I wasn't bored. I just thought, this is really spectacular in the sense, this is what being in space is like. There's no, I mean, you heard of course, the music to introduce it, but there's no zippy sound effects. There's no pew 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 going on. It's just, this is what it is really like. It was definitely a slow burn. Not everybody has the patience for it. And to me, the conclusion was just mind blowing, and just artistic from beginning to end. Yeah. Kubrick was a master. I've enjoyed all his movies. We mentioned, of course, one of his other ones, and which one was it, John? Was that Vanilla Sky or one of the others that he directed for?
Yeah, it wouldn't be Vanilla Sky. That was a Cameron Crowe movie. But
I must be thinking of Eyes Wide Shut, since it's Tom Cruise. I'm probably way off the mark here.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, of course, he directed The Shining and others, and just a really a marvelous film in my opinion. I know I'm sounding like a really holier than thou film critic right now. I don't mean to be.
No,
but
honestly, this should be somebody's choice. Like, this absolutely should be a film that somebody chooses, because before Star Wars, this was the state of the art. This was the science fiction movie.
There's been jokes made. Oh yeah, you can really, you would go to the theater and enjoy 2001 by, smoking a joint or having some LSD and all that stuff. Howard Stern makes a joke on his show that he was watching the movie in the theater with a friend of his named Dave, and Dave, his friend, thought the movie was talking to him at some point.
What are you doing, Dave?
No, what? But really, I mean, narcotics aside, I mean,
yeah,
it's really just it's an experience, and a product of its time. It has a look. It's not necessarily a look that stands the test of time. Again, 2001, where we didn't quite get to what it's depicted here, and they're still wearing their 60s Nehru jackets, but nevertheless, Just a very influential film, which was one of my criteria for selecting my choices this time.
Yeah.
Was that this? It really influenced a lot that came after it.
Yeah. Well, I've never seen this one.
All this noise pouring.
Hey, but by the way, just if you guys need to take a leak or anything, like if we're not live, you can take a pee break.
I'm good. I'm good.
So what do you think?
10 minutes from now, I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, what do you
I
think?
think I will grab a bottle of water real quick. It's right here.
Yeah. Go ahead. What do you think of this one, John?
Tiburon, I gotta know, when you first started playing this this trailer and you heard that music, "Thus Spake Zarathustra."
Say that three times really fast.
"Thus Spake Zarathustra." Nope, can't do it. Did you think of Ric Flair?
That's all I was thinking. I just wanted to give someone a chop and put him in a figure 4.
Woo!
And say, mean.
That's right, baby.
By God.
Space Mountain, baby. Woo!
But I've only known about this movie because of Ric Flair, because I knew the theme was off of this movie. That's the only reason I ever knew about this movie.
That's what everyone started calling the song was the theme from 2001, right?
Which is like kind of weird. I'm like, why would that be? I guess because it's epic, maybe like an epic theme. That's what.
Oh, sure.
Well,
yeah.
And the soundtrack, the musical soundtrack of the whole film is classical music.
Oh, okay.
And so
where you would hear the sounds of, I'm talking about Star Wars, just even the sounds of a spacecraft going by that you would normally hear now. None of that is present in this because there is no sound in the vacuum of space. So instead, you have music.
But what kind of movie? Like, what happens in this movie? Is it like a Star Wars adventure? What is it? Because I've never known what this movie even is.
That's a fascinating question, Mr. Townsel.
Yeah, what is
science fiction horror writer? Please find a way to describe the plot of 2001: A Space Odyssey.
You know what, Tiburon? It's not a huge plot actually. As I mentioned before, there is a large introduction where we see the beginnings of man in the form of monkeys, basically. And throughout their simple day, they come across this big black rectangular object, which is known as a monolith. And it's some kind of like transmitter of alien communication. Then we're going forward thousands of years to modern man in 2001, where he's conquered space and is exploring his own solar system, and the monolith has survived over the eons to be rediscovered by mankind. And it's through the course of the film that we learn exactly what the monolith is and what effect it has on humankind. And most notably, with a team of explorers on a ship called Discovery, as it were.
I forgot that.
Yes.
Very cool.
And Hal, the supercomputer, begins to go a little haywire and starts trying to kill everybody on board. And it has something to do with this monolith. And by the way, John, did you know that Hal was so named because the name HAL was one letter off of IBM? There you go. So
I did know that, but if you hadn't mentioned it, I would have mentioned it because it is a killer piece of trivia. And at the time, people were like, "Oh, dude, my mind is exploding. Hal is just one letter off IBM. Damn, dude!" But they did actually predict how important artificial intelligence and computer intelligence would become.
Yes. It's definitely the most scientifically accurate. Per my one of the reasons I selected this movie for inclusion is that scientifically accurate, totally believable in its science, even down to the real use of artificial gravity. We see it on Star Trek where they're just walking around the ship. Artificial gravity, okay, we'll take that. No, they actually have an explanation for it, and it may be too much of an explanation for a lot of folks. Like I say, it's slow moving. It's a slow burn. A lot of technical aspects, but it concludes with a big head trip that is you have to see to believe.
Okay, I need to watch this one too. I always avoided it because I didn't know what the hell the movie was. I was like, "What is this?" Because I know Kubrick's a very out of the box directors, I was like, I don't know what that even is. Like, what is this movie?
Well, I mean, the very next thing he did was Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, that's another.
Yeah, was another take on the future. You know, the different, very different type of future. Mad Magazine satirized 2001 as 201 minutes of a space idiocy, and it's accurate in the sense that it is about that length, 201 minutes. So it's long. Do your best to stick with it. I think you'll be glad you did when you see the payoff.
All right, need to check this one out. You dig this one, John? You a fan of this one?
This is a super beautiful movie, but I have to admit, when it comes to science fiction, hard science fiction, like science fiction that Neil deGrasse Tyson would like, that's a little deep for me. That's a little like solid for me.
Yeah.
And I do like my more actiony kind of movies, but I'll tell you this much. I was really happy with this movie and with the sequel movie they made, 2010, in that they did explain things to you that you were like, I always wanted to know what was going on there. And I always wanted to have an idea of like what this scene meant next to that scene. And Kubrick is his own guy. Like, Kubrick tells you the story under his own terms. He's never going to do an easy to watch movie. I found, oh my God, The Shining. I found The Shining so hard to watch. It was just, it didn't fit any way of doing it that I'd ever seen before. And I actually did read the book, and like, that was so easy. The book was really easy to understand. I do like my great authors who can explain things to you in simple language. And JoeTownsel.com.
There you go. Joe Townsel. There you go. Throw in the plug.
Is very good at using very usable language and very accessible ways of storytelling. But I would say it's essential. I wouldn't say it's like, wow, what a fun time. But if you would sit down and read a serious book that's really good, that's the same as watching this movie.
Okay.
Arthur C. Clarke was a phenomenal writer. And I think Kubrick actually did improve on 2001, his novel. And if you have the stomach for it, I'll put it that way. I think John makes a good point in that if you watch 2001 and 2010 together, you'll basically have a complete story. Because 2001 does end with a lot of unanswered questions.
Okay, so you recommend watching them back to back then?
I would say it's a good.
But do you have 4 hours?
But watch it early. Watch it early in the morning with a lot of caffeine in me, so I can pay attention.
There you go.
Yeah, maybe, because I'm telling you, that first one has a potential of putting people to sleep. It is slow. It has very little dialogue. Very little dialogue. A lot of the dialogue is Hal the computer, which is super cool. But yeah, it really, when I try to do the old man thing where I'm like, you kids have no idea how hard it was to love science fiction before Star Wars. And it's true. Before Star Wars, science fiction was so, most of the time, dry and literary and not action oriented and not fun. A lot of the movies that I chose are super fun. And I like that. But my brother was a very serious reader. He's an engineer, serious science kind of mind. This to him was everything. 2001, A Space Odyssey was his favorite film. Still is. And I get it. But if you have ADHD like I do, it's a little bit of a work.
So you're saying it's not for everyone, but check it out.
It's not for everyone.
Absolutely not for everybody.
Yeah.
But if you say, one of these days I want to sit down and read a Hemingway novel or a Steinbeck novel, one of these days I want to sit down and I want to experience a classic. This is a classic.
Okay, good to know. All right. I might go now to my number 2 pick. This one's I don't think this one's a slow burn. I think this one gets Up and running, hits the floor running. Let's go to my number 2 pick now.
You're going out there to destroy them, right? Not to study. Not to bring back.
That's the plan.
All right, I'm in.
There's still no contact with the colony. The xenomorph may be involved.
What exactly are we dealing with here?
Just one of those things managed to wipe out my entire crew.
Ready to get it on. Go!
I think we got something here.
Ripley, don't be afraid. Come on. I don't know how you managed to stay alive, but these soldiers are here to protect you.
It won't make any difference.
What is that?
I don't know.
Nobody touched nothing.
I got signals, I got readings. There's something moving and it ain't us.
Get them out of there! Let's rock! I'm scared.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Get away from her, you bitch!
So this was another one, just like Back to the Future. That's Aliens, by the way. Another one I didn't watch until I was in my 30s. I didn't watch Alien Resurrection, or whatever that shitty one's called, Part 3. But
Yeah.
but and watching them when I was in my 30s, I was like, damn, man, I missed out on watching these as a kid. But I kind of like that I was able to watch them like with fresh eyes, you know, because I had never seen them growing up, and I had to pick between the two. I feel like they're very different movies. The first one's sci-fi horror. This one's more like sci-fi action horror.
Yes.
So I was like, I got to go with this one because it hits the floor running. It's like packed with action. They're just mowing down aliens. There's a giant mother alien that Ripley battles with that like giant mech suit. Like it's just a fun one. And when I rewatched it this week, I was like, man, this movie looks good too. Like it looks good. And
It's a gorgeous movie.
And it's what, like 88, like probably mid 80s, 86, yeah.
86, yeah.
It's like a 40-year-old movie, and it looks great.
This could easily have been my number 1.
Yeah,
easily. I only didn't choose it because I was trying to stay away from franchises.
Okay.
And the movies that come in franchises, I tend to love every movie differently. You know, what's the best one from the franchise? Oh, definitely Aliens, hands down. But this movie had a level of action and speed to it that would affect, I think, every other movie for like 20 years. Is it as fast as Aliens? Is it as scary as Aliens? It doesn't have a strong character, and especially a strong female character, you know, like Aliens. It really is state of the art, I think, for a great movie that uses sci-fi to essentially be a monster movie. I mean, you know, there's that too.
Yeah. You a fan of this one, Joe?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in as much as Terminator 2 is considered to be better than the original, likewise with Aliens over Alien. And again, the originals are fantastic movies.
Yeah.
But Aliens is in a class by itself. And both franchises also have this in common. They both went to shit after the second movie. So at least we got the first two in each case. I mean, one thing that John didn't mention is in Aliens, it was just so wonderful, were all the compelling, distinct characters as opposed to the cardboard cutouts in Alien 3.
Oh, that's good.
Where everybody is the same, they have the same bald-headed, oh, forget it. But in Aliens, I mean, come on. Every character is essential. I mean, one or two maybe are in the background more than the others, but otherwise they're all wonderful. And I got to tell you a tidbit here, which is fairly well known. They edited out this scene, they cut it for pacing purposes, unfortunately. It's a wonderful scene where before Ripley gets dispatched out back to the planet, she's in an arboretum setting, and she's looking at photos, like holograms, of her daughter who died of old age while she was in hypersleep.
Oh.
Which further cemented her relationship with Newt later in the movie as being a daughter to her.
Oh, the girl with the cat.
And Jonesy the cat, yes.
Yeah.
And I wish they left that in because, like I said, it it was about a 10-minute scene that was at the beginning, so they were concerned about getting right in there. But I think it was a shame that they cut it. But knowing that it wasn't essential, but it would have enhanced the relationship with her and Newt, which was phenomenal. And I got to say, another reason that I hated Alien 3 was their horrible undoing of aliens.
Yep.
By just arbitrarily killing Newt and Hicks and whatever. It's a different movie, so be it. I've watched it many times too, so I can't say I hate it. But Aliens is a class unto itself. I mean, for all the reasons that John put forth, it's a basis by which we still compare everything that came since for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. And so many great performances. Paul Reiser as an alien. Paul Reiser as a corporate guy who wants to bring the xenomorph back for the weapons company, and doesn't care who he kills in order to do that. And Bill Paxton, of course, game over, man, game over.
Which put her in charge.
There's nobody who can spread panic better than Bill Paxton. And may I also say, Bill Paxton playing a very key role in Edge of Tomorrow.
That's right.
Yeah. You know, Bill Paxton being one of the major guys in Terminator. He's one of the guys that Terminator steals the clothes from.
Oh, really?
I need your clothes and your bike.
I didn't know. I did not know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I did not know.
James Cameron loved using Bill Paxton, but everybody loved using Bill Paxton. But yeah, what a great movie! Easily one of my favorite movies of all time.
I always wonder how did they do the it was someone in a suit, right? Because it was practical effects. So it was someone in a suit dressed.
Yeah,
it looks good.
Yeah, suit and animatronics for the larger things like the mother alien, things of that nature for sure.
Yeah.
Get away from her, you bitch, is one of the greatest moments on film. I love it so much. There was such a macho time of Rambo and, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger is Commando and all of these like shoot 'em ups that were set in modern day, you know, life in the 80s. And James Cameron takes that and puts that into his Aliens movie. So you got the big guns, you got the bang, bang, bang. You got the, you know, hopeless fight because these xenomorphs are so hard to kill. They bleed acid. There's so many ways that they can kill you. Just a tremendous movie.
Yeah. Even if you're a misogynist, I think Ripley always gets a pass from the guys. Ripley,
well, of course.
Yeah. Ripley's awesome.
And you know what? As much as I love Jennifer Lawrence, for her to claim a couple years ago that there was no strong female action heroes before Hunger Games. Sorry, Jennifer, you really missed the boat on that one. All you gotta do is look at Ripley.
How about Terminator too? How about Terminator?
Yes.
You know?
Linda Hamilton is, you know, chewing up metal and spitting out nails.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was my number 2. We're going to our number 1s now. So these are our all-time favorite sci-fi movies, and this is the one that I was like, okay, I need to learn about this pick from Captain John here. So let's check out Captain John's all-time favorite sci-fi movie after this trailer.
Never give up, never surrender.
From out-of-work actors.
By the sons of Warvan, I shall avenge you.
To outer space heroes.
You will save us.
We are actors, not astronauts.
DreamWorks Pictures invites you to bravely go.
Hi, little guy.
Where no comedy has gone before. Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, Galaxy Quest, rated PG. Starts Saturday, December 20th.
Galaxy Quest, that Captain John's all-time favorite sci-fi movie.
Galaxy Quest is on so many levels for me. And part of it is that it's a science fiction movie about being a Star Trek fan.
Oh, okay.
And you know, the basic plot is the actors who were on a Star Trek type show are still doing conventions, as one does, and opening up supermarkets and stuff, and just they hate it. They hate the fact that they had this good job and now they don't have good jobs anymore. And that's very much the story of the original Star Trek cast. Typecasting. No one wants to use you anymore. You're only known for this. And Tim Allen playing a Bill Shatner kind of character who everyone in the cast hates because he's so narcissistic, he's so selfish, and such a dick. Such an absolute Tim Allen as an absolute dick is just good casting. Sigourney Weaver once again, but now playing comedy. Alan Rickman, the villain from Die Hard, and Professor Snape later. I don't think he'd done Snape at this point. I can't quite remember when Galaxy Quest came out. He hadn't done it yet, but he had done Hans Gruber. And Alan Rickman is fantastic. Just Tony Shalhoub.
I was gonna say that I see the monk guy in there.
You did.
Monk is in there. Monk, Sam Rockwell, who is just amazing as Justin Hammer in the Marvel movies, and just what a cast! What a freaking cast! Even the non-speaking actors are amazing in it. I can't say enough, especially since there's a key moment, and I won't ruin it, but there's a key moment in Galaxy Quest where they turn the tables on the bad guys. And we're watching, Joe Townsel and I were doing a show where we were watching Picard every week and recapping and reviewing. And they actually, in season 3 of Star Trek Picard, they actually steal back from Galaxy Quest a key moment in their, in their storytelling. And it is so beautiful to see that here's a movie that copied Star Trek and did certain things with it. And later Star Trek's like, yeah, well, we're going to take that from you and we're going to do that on Star Trek. And there's lots and lots of stories about how the Star Trek actors watched this movie. Joe, what's that story? Is it a Frakes story where he says that Patrick Stewart tells him he should go to the movie theater immediately and watch Galaxy Quest?
I believe it's the other way around, and that Stewart was initially reluctant. Deal with that rubbish, and of course they all loved it. Yeah, I mean they loved it all, because it was really a love letter to Star Trek and its fans, while being its own unique take on a franchise of that type.
Yeah,
I mean the Orville owes a lot to Galaxy Quest for starters.
And that's a great thing too. Like it's still turning out great stories, that whole setup through the Orville. Good stories on the Orville. I don't love the show, but I do have to admit the good writers that they have are doing great work.
Well, lots of them are Star Trek writers, from the eras of Star Trek that we love. And, it stands to reason. And as far as Galaxy Quest itself, I mean, embedded in the comedy was a good story. It didn't just fall apart and, into just a bunch of jokes. I mean, there was real jeopardy. There was real compelling villains.
Yeah.
And and mixing it with the real world in terms of, the conventions and the appearances and so forth, just really fun to watch from beginning to end. I mean, it's not something that a lot of people would think to make at the top of their science fiction list, but I think it's a great pick, John, because it embodies a lot of what we love about sci-fi from the last several decades.
This is, if you love Star Trek, you would dig this movie because it kind of pays homage to Star Trek.
I would say yes to that, but I would also say if you're just aware of Star Trek, you'll get this movie.
Oh yes.
You just, like if your friends really like Star Trek, or a couple of nerds like John and Joe, who do a lot of shows about Star Trek, and we do know a ton about Star Trek. If you just know that we exist, it's funny to watch the movie because it kind of makes fun of us guys on some levels, but it also makes us heroes too, which is just a beautiful part of the movie.
Is there any grunting, any Tim Allen grunting in this movie, or no? No grunts.
No home improvement that I could see, but
no.
I'm gonna steal one joke from the movie. I don't want to ruin it for anybody who hasn't seen it because you really must see it. But there's Alan Rickman's character has always been jealous of Tim Allen's character. So it's pretty much what if Leonard Nimoy was jealous of William Shatner, which of course never happened.
No,
because everybody loved Nimoy more than Shatner. But there's Tim Allen's on a planet. He's fighting a rock monster, and they're helping him in any way they can. And he finally defeats the rock monster, and his shirt is in shreds, and he's in good shape, and you could see his body, but his shirt is all ripped up. And they get him back up on the ship, and everybody's like, "Oh, thank God you're alive! Thank God you're alive!" And Alan Rickman's like, "I see you managed to get your shirt off." Because in every episode he ends up shirtless in the original series, and Rickman always resented it and goes, "Oh, bloody hell, once again got his shirt off."
And that's a perfect example, the perfect joke to share, John, because you can appreciate that just for the joke it is. If you know what it's referring to as far as the the original Kirk stuff, then it's just enhanced.
Yeah.
So Star Trek knowledge enhances Galaxy Quest, but it's not essential by any means. It's totally enjoyable on its own.
Yeah, and it's a real love letter to everybody, to the original shows, to the premises of what would happen in space, and then to the fans who actually save the day at the end. It's about the fans and the cast of this show saving the day from a legitimate science fiction threat. It's a great movie. You've never seen it, Tiburon?
I've never seen. No, I haven't seen any of these movies. Any of these. I got a lot of movie watching to do.
Yeah. We got a lot of movie watching to do. I think you should check out all of them. But I'm going to agree with John. And just for your own enjoyment, check out Galaxy Quest first.
Yeah. Okay. You even vouch for it over the other ones. Okay.
Well, I wouldn't say over, but I'm just saying in terms of something you're just really going to enjoy and is easy to access, and maybe whet your appetite for the other stuff. Yeah, check out Galaxy Quest at the beginning of your journey. Yeah.
All right. Will do.
It's like nerdiness is good. And back in the day, I mean, this was before Big Bang Theory. So like back in the day, if you were a nerd for something, you were a nerd. That was like an insult. And now in the more enlightened, years that we live, where it's like, just let people like what they like. If a whole bunch of ladies want to go see the Barbie movie, be cool about it. You don't have to hate that. Let people like what they like. And it hits different now. And it is the movie. If it's playing and I'm passing by a TV, I have to sit down and watch it.
Okay.
Can't walk away.
Strong endorsement right there, by Captain John. I'm gonna check this one out then. I'll keep an eye out at the flea market, at the Goodwill. All right, well, that
easily find it.
Yeah. So I don't know if I should mention this in the course of your show, Tiburon, but a lot of these movies are readily available for free on YouTube, and Galaxy Quest is one of them.
Oh, really? It's free on YouTube. Oh, good. Even better. That's my favorite price.
Yeah. But like a lot of movies, it was a big release. So if you can find it on disc, there'll be extras and there'll be all these commentaries. It would be a tremendous DVD to own.
I'm gonna watch it and I'll let you know. Let you know what I think.
I think you dig it.
All right. Well, that was Captain John's number one. We're gonna go to Joe Townsel's number one pick here. Let's check out what he's got.
MGM's Children's Matinee presents a trip in outer space to another galaxy. An incredible adventure to an unknown planet. Forbidden Planet. Welcome to the planet called Altair 4, where Morbius, the last member of a vanished civilization, takes you deep down into his planet's heart to see the miraculous marvels of a race of geniuses. Where a strange, invisible force threatens the lives of anyone who invades his domain. Welcome to the world of Morbius and his planet of mystery. Welcome to Forbidden Planet, rated G.
1971, Forbidden Planet. Tell us about this one, Joe.
Oh, wow. I mean, Forbidden Planet's always been one of my favorites. Anyone who's a Star Trek fan knows that Star Trek was heavily influenced by Forbidden Planet on many levels. I mean, it was not whiz-bang, shoot-'em-up type of sci-fi. It wasn't simple monsters invading or aliens invading Earth type of fare. It was, a crew of explorers going through the galaxy. They came across the planet of the week, which would have been so in Star Trek. And had a very cerebral adventure. Again, not a lot of action, but I don't want to draw comparisons to 2001 because it's not that. It's just that it's for example, if anyone has ever seen the original Star Trek pilot, The Cage, that too is not heavily action oriented, but it's a compelling science fiction concept, as is Forbidden Planet, featuring, of course, Leslie Nielsen in what used to be very common. A dramatic role. He only became a comedic actor with Airplane. Prior to that, he was very, very much in demand as a dramatic actor, and drama is the right word to use for Forbidden Planet. It has its sexy allure in the term of the lady lead. She's the Morbius's daughter, and it's just a strange new world for this crew. Of course, we also get introduced to the immortal Robbie the Robot, who was used so many times in later years, the Twilight Zone and Lost in Space, not as that character, but just because it was an expensive prop, so they wanted to keep using him, and it's just it's a very, very fascinating science fiction concept that really pays off at the end, and it could have been an episode of the best of Star Trek, actually, because it's just really
easily.
So,
very cool. You've seen this one, I'm guessing, John.
I have early on. So I was probably 15 or 16 when VHS became really popular in the home. And we got a new TV, and we got a VHS player, and this was before Blockbuster, so. This is crazy old days. And I remember there was a place called Atlantic Video near my house in New Hampshire where I was growing up. And there was a guy who loved movies, and I loved movies, but I didn't know anything. And so I would go in, and this guy, Gene, I would say, like, is this good? Is this good? Should I try this? Should I try this? And I know I was looking at color, not black and white. And he was like, you like science fiction, you really should try Forbidden Planet. And I had never done that. I'd never gotten a black and white science fiction movie from the 50s and sat down and watched it. I'd maybe seen a few stuff on Monster Chiller, Horror Theater, or whatever. And it was so easy to get into. Just like Joe's saying, it was like watching an episode of Star Trek. Extremely accessible. I knew who Leslie Nielsen was. Leslie Nielsen from the Naked Gun movies, from the Airplane movie. He's so funny, doing comedy. But at one point, he was the big puff chest leading man. And Walter Pidgeon plays Dr. Morbius, who isn't telling the guys everything. So there's a bit of a mystery to what's going on. And it's also based on the Shakespeare play, The Tempest. Which is...
Oh, yes, of course.
Which is wild. That they crammed so many weird things into this. And may I also say one of the first movies where humans are flying a flying saucer.
Mm-hmm. Not aliens.
Plot twist.
Not the yeah. And so and later you would see that in Lost in Space on TV as well. Like, we're going to space, so we build a giant flying saucer. But it's really cool. It's got ray guns, it's got scary stuff, and there is a monster, and there's a mystery. So lots and lots of elements that people could, I think, totally get into. This would be a really easy old sci-fi movie to watch. It has a little bit of everything.
So easier than 2001. You would say this is an easier
100%. 100%.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. If you watched this before 2001, then you'd be like, oh, yeah, okay.
I even mentioned in the same. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Joe, you froze up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only reason I mention them in the same breath is because they're. Am I back?
Yes.
Yeah. There, you're back. Hey, you're back.
Okay. All right. No, the only reason I mention the two films in the same breath is because they do give us thought-provoking science fiction concepts. Absolutely. I mean, John mentions the monster. The creation and origin and the execution are singularly unique, and I don't know that they've really ever improved on that concept for a so-called monster in anything I've seen.
Yeah. So and it's very reminiscent of a Star Trek.
Yes.
They didn't do it on Star Trek, but it's the kind of story that is told. And if you watched this and then watched 2001, I think that would actually be a great way of going, because 2001 is visually such a powerhouse and does so much with, as Joe said, does so much with silence and with music. And it's very, very different. It's a very different experience from watching Forbidden Planet. But watching Forbidden Planet, you'll be like, oh yeah, I've watched stuff like this before. This is extremely accessible and fairly original story for something that's so accessible.
Yes. Oh, cool. Sounds like the app. Oh, we lost John. Well,
I thought I was the problem child.
He got booted. Let me see. Let me open up
Captain
Facebook.
and John of SP80 joined.
He's back.
I'm back. I have no idea when I crashed the whole thing. What was I talking about?
They're very accessible. It's very accessible.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I do think watch Forbidden Planet.
You finished your thought.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah, okay. This sounds like the appetizer. Like the appetizer before you watch 2001. You're at Applebee's, you get yourself the little quesadilla sampler with the wings and stuff. Before you go
to Outback. Go to Outback, get your blooming onion and get your steak. You'll be in good shape.
That's a very good comparison.
All right. This is the first time I've done like a bunch of movie podcast episodes. This is the first time I haven't seen any of the movies from my guests. So this is interesting. But you know what I think it is? I think I'm not a big sci-fi guy, like a space guy. I'm just not. I think that's what it is.
So what sci-fi movies would you say you have seen? I mean, you saw Back to the Future.
Yeah, the ones I named.
The ones you named.
Yeah, like Star Wars I've seen. Star Trek I've seen one maybe. I'm just not like a big space guy, I think. Yeah. Even video games, like the only like exception is Halo. I don't know if you guys know like the shooting game Halo. That's like the only sci-fi thing I really like. I think it's Halo.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Wow.
So sometimes I feel like left out because like friends are like talking about like Star Trek, Star Wars, and I'm like, oh, like I don't. Well, I don't know.
Well, Tiburon, we may have to bring for a future episode of Retro Wave, we may need to bring John Kicking and Screaming into a top 5 horror special.
Oh, body horror.
Boy.
Body horror movies.
I do have favorite horror films, and I think they might actually surprise you.
Okay. All right.
Because
okay, something to think about. I think.
See that.
Yeah, I honestly think my love for horror as a non-horror fan is still pretty weird and interesting. Like, I love Insidious 2. I love that movie. I ran across it by accident on cable years and years ago. I'd never seen Insidious 1. I don't have any idea what those filmmakers have done otherwise, but that movie was so damn good.
Damn, and I've never seen that one. I've only seen the first one.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Man, the second one is amazing. They bring back a character from the first movie who I think they call Deputy What's-His-Face.
Deputy What's-His-Face.
And the actor's tremendous, and he's so good in this. But, you know, it's one of these, like, very small kind of, you know, it happens around a house with this mom and her two boys. You know, it's all very low scale, but very creepy. I do like creepy movies. I do like them. You know what I don't like? I don't like big commercial horror. That tends not to work on me.
So like the Friday the 13th and the Nightmare on Elm Street.
I hate
Paranormal Activity.
Oh, I hate Paranormal Activity.
I love it.
I hate them. Do you remember when we were doing Halloween? No, Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm,
we're doing Friday the 13th, and I could not get over how freaking ugly these movies were.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning that.
Who did hair? Who did makeup? Who did wardrobe? Like, no one. No one did these things.
Tom Savini did it all, I think. I don't know if you know who Tom Savini is.
I do. He's isn't he like Sex Machine from
he did all the practical effects on some of them, I think, right?
Yeah. Till Dawn.
Yeah.
He shows up as an actor.
Yeah. He's in Dawn of the Dead too, as one of the biker gang guys.
Oh, well, that must be why everyone loves him.
It's for the George Romero zombie movie.
Yeah. He also created Triple H's mask, I think, in one of the WrestleManias, like one of his masks. He made the mask for him.
I remember when he had that mask.
Yeah, it's like a gold one. Yeah.
No, he's the guy who has the gun that
Dawn of the Dead and
comes up from.
Yeah. Hold on. Can you do that again? Hold on.
Yeah, Sex
Machine. From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So we went through your guys' list. We'll go to the final one. So this is my number one.
All right.
My number one. Let's go.
Something went wrong, Seth. When you went through, something went wrong.
An unforeseen accident turns a brilliant inventor into a fly. The Fly. Rated R. Now playing at theaters everywhere.
So John, you had a Videodrome. Cronenberg's Videodrome. I have Cronenberg's The Fly movie. Man, I love this movie, The Fly.
That's a great movie.
Yeah, I have can't see it, but like a poster of him up there of Seth Brundle Fly. I remember watching this as a kid. It was like on HBO like all the time. I remember back in the day on HBO, they would like show the same like 25 movies over and over. I remember watching this one and being scared being scared shitless. Like I remember we lived on an 8-story apartment, and I went to the roof one time, like after watching The Fly, and I was like, what if that fly guy shows up right here? Because in one of the scenes, I think he jumps. He's like on a roof, like checking out, like spying on Gina Davis and the boyfriend, and he's just like, I was like, oh hell no! What if the fly's up here? And super gross, like the scene where he vomits on the dough. That's just like a
or he starts taking his finger off.
When he's taking his
like he pops one of his fingers like a zit.
Yeah,
and like stuff comes out of it, and then he just peels it off. Yeah, there was some body horror in that damn movie, wasn't there?
Yeah, so it's like horror, but I feel like it's sci-fi because he's creating this like teleportation device and a lot of like
Oh, definitely sci-fi horror. Absolutely.
Yeah, but I just love this one.
The thing that I love the most about it was that Cronenberg and whoever wrote it had kind of pushed the idea forward, because the Vincent Price movie was okay, lots of very like iconic moments from the Vincent Price movie where he's like half fly and he's got a fly hand, and then there's the end where he's a human head on a spider body, and he's caught in the web. Help me!
Yeah, I've seen that one too.
yeah. I mean, it's a freaky movie. I'm really glad they remade it. Here's the thing that I loved about the Cronenberg version. What he thinks he's doing. He thinks he's creating a teleporter. And now we know about transporters from Star Trek. We have some idea of what teleportation is. And then what he thinks he does is he thinks he edits his genetics and purifies himself. And so now he's a perfect man. And, his ability to jump from rooftop to rooftop, and this sort of like superhero origin. And then it goes all wrong because he was wrong. It took him apart. It took the fly apart, and it put the two together. And I love that. That's very science fiction. Like, oh, I assumed it was this. No, it was actually that. And that's horrible.
Yeah. I love that too.
There's also the scene where now his Jeff Goldblum's real life wife was Gina Davis.
Yes.
Bro, really? I didn't know that was his real life. Hold on. Give me a second.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that was his real wife at the time. Gina Davis?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, they were married, and they did a couple of movies together. They did another one, not one of the great sci-fi movies, called Earth Girls Are Easy.
I think I've heard of that one.
If you ever wanted to watch it, it's funny because there's Jeff Goldblum, but then the other two aliens are Damon Wayans and Jim.
Is it Jim Carrey?
Jim Carrey, yes, playing very minor roles.
Yeah.
And like, when they make them stop looking like aliens, they're like, oh my God, these guys are so hot, which is hilarious. But anyway, getting back to Gina Davis catches him, and he's like with some girl he picked up at a club or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. At the
and
bar.
he's starting to get monstrous, and the girl's like, I'm afraid. And Jeff Goldblum says, don't be afraid. And Gina Davis says, be afraid. Be very afraid.
And I think that's the tagline to some of the posters. Be afraid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a great moment. It's such a great line. That was a great film. I did not see it in theaters. I actually skipped it and later saw it on HBO and was like, oh, damn, I really missed out. This was a good movie. I should have seen it on the big screen.
I'm bring up that. So you guys sent me your list beforehand so I could put the audio clips together. Joe, I noticed one of his honorable mentions, now that we've gone through our list, it was the original Fly. So what do you think of this one, Joe? Because you had the original Fly as an honorable mention.
As an honorable mention, because it's definitely a classic monster movie in that sense. And of course, Vincent Price, you have to recognize him in some aspects. And on Retro Rangers, we actually will be recognizing him very soon. You'll see.
Yeah.
But I have to agree with John. This is a case, an exception to my rule tonight, where the remake far eclipses the original.
Oh, damn. Okay.
It really does.
I'm kind of shocked that you said that.
Yeah, because I mean, the original Fly is it's classic, but it's a little laughable. Mm-hmm. It is dated. Help me. Okay, that's fine. But this one really, I mean, this really is a classic film in the sense it's 35 plus years old. It's not a new movie by any means. And so it's a classic in that sense, and it's a classic that holds up. Yeah. Anybody can watch it now and still be terrified, and again, the slow transformation, it always hooks me. And this is what we get, as John described.
Yeah, it's gross.
I mean, I even like, I wouldn't, of course, see it's nearly as good, but I enjoyed The Fly too, for that matter.
Oh, hey! Eric Stoltz would be so psyched to hear that.
Eric Stoltz.
There you go, Tiburon. Eric Stoltz. It's in The Fly too.
Eric Stoltz fell off his chair right now.
Yes. Remember, we were trying to tell you who he was.
In the Force. Oh, what's that? No, a piece of my past has suddenly come to life. Never mind. I'm sure I'm fine.
I have some buddies that I've had on the podcast in the past, and they bring up that they can't stand Goldblum, but they've said, "Oh, but I like him in this one." Like, I can't really stand Goldblum, but I liked him in The Fly.
Well, he fits the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a tremendous, and I give it up to David Cronenberg for doing this. He took a guy who wasn't a stud, he's a weird scientist type, but he becomes a stud because he gets superpowers from this machine.
Yeah,
they're not exactly superpowers, but not everybody gets to be bitten by a radioactive spider.
My favorite scene of that movie now is when he starts talking about insect politics. And he's like, "You ever hear of insect politics? Neither have I. I'd like to become the first insect politician." But then it's like funny, and then it takes like a dark turn because he's like, "But you can't trust the insect. The insect has no compassion,
right?
Like no morals. And then Gina Davis is like, "What are you trying to say?" And he's like, "What I'm saying is, you better leave before I hurt you."
Yes,
I don't know why I love that scene.
He's a monster.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's an actual human becoming an actual monster.
Yeah.
What would it look like? What would it sound like? It wouldn't seem like a scary thing at first. It might seem like a great thing.
Yeah.
Then she's pregnant and he's like freaking out because he wants her to give birth to his child.
Yeah. And, I remember.
And he has a great line about, if you get rid of that, then you get rid of what's left of me that's human.
Yeah. He says like, you, me, and the baby. He says something. He like twitches.
And one of the great things about Jeff Goldblum is he's not one of those actors who will give you what you want. He gives you what he does. Malkovich is a great one for this too. They do their own thing. And when you hire them, you got to know that. I can't make you act like the father from Leave It to Beaver. You're never going to do that. But I can ask you, what would you as a human who's turning into a fly, what would you do? What would you sound like? What would your body language be? And that's all Jeff Goldblum making those choices.
Yeah, and he's like kind of twitchy, like a little twitchy, like almost like insect-like. And I also like felt sad. I remember like when he dies, when he gets his like brains blown out, because he like grabs the shotgun and puts it on his head, like.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and I remember I got kind of choked up, like, oh, like he's this disgusting fly, but he's still like, yeah, just killed me.
But he had those big weepy eyes by then.
Yeah, those big puppy dog eyes.
But that is the true genius of a sci-fi monster movie, is watching the guy lose his humanity and feeling the loss of it. What we never get out of Frankenstein is feeling bad for the monster, unless they really, really push it and make that happen. That's supposed to be part of the story. You're supposed to feel bad about him from the very beginning because he had no control over being made. And he's made so horrible and so imperfect. And that really is a very early science fiction story, too. Yeah. But you get to see it in The Fly. As done by David Cronenberg.
Yeah, I've said in the past, it's kind of like it's sci-fi horror, but a little bit of romance too. It's like a
absolutely
romance story too.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, the most elusive thing to any kind of genre is how do you find the human story? And where does the human story come from? Aliens is a great example because the human story comes from Sigourney Weaver's character, Ripley. She's a human the whole time. She reacts without any need to have more money, more power, to control other people. She's just a survivor. And then she sees that this child needs someone to watch out for her. And she, elects herself as, replacement mom. It's a beautiful thing when you can make a human story a very important part of a science fiction story.
Right. All right. Well, very cool. We all went through our top 5. I'm gonna just go through my honorable mentions really quick, and then you guys, if any come to mind for you, like, hey, this one was a tough one to leave off, and I had to leave it off. So I got
a few.
Yeah, I got Enemy Mine. Enemy Mine's one of the only sci-fi movies I like too. Fuck.
Great movie.
Fuck Mickey Mouse.
I love it. 6, 7? Or is it 4 or 5? 4 or 5?
Yeah. So I recently watched it.
Of course, this is a remake of a science fiction remake of The Defiant Ones with Sidney Poitier and Tony Curtis, where they're handcuffed together and forced to work together despite their racial differences.
Yeah.
That's right. So
it was almost my number 5, but I couldn't leave off Jason X. It got bumped.
I get it. I totally get it.
Today I thought of Fire in the Sky because I remember seeing that in the theaters and being really scared by that one.
That scared the crap out of me.
Yeah. Ex Machina. I saw that on Blu-ray a few years ago. I like that one.
I still have yet to see it.
Yeah, I like that one. Alien, obviously. Alien's great also. I didn't really dig the original Blade Runner, but I did like the one with Bautista. So I put Blade Runner 2049 and Independence Day. I've never seen it since I saw it as a teenager, but I had fun at the theater. That's another Jason X one.
Great popcorn movie, tremendous popcorn movie. I enjoyed it. The dumb parts of it are so dumb, but the fun parts of it are so much fun. I love Brent Spiner in it.
Yeah.
Brent Spiner's hilarious in it, playing a very different character from Data.
Yeah, but
are those all your
yeah, those are all mine. I don't know if John, you want to go next with some honorable mentions.
I have to give credit to the franchises. I do love most of the movies. There are significant ones that I don't, but the Alien franchise, Terminator, Star Trek, Star Wars, Planet of the Apes, Jurassic Park. Again, some stinkers in there, but most of them are good, and I've watched them all. But this one hurt, not including The Matrix.
I saw that as a sci-fi when I Googled. I was like, oh yeah, that is a sci-fi movie. Yeah.
Oh sure.
Yeah. It is wild how major that first movie was. And then the second movie was good. I didn't hate the second movie, but oh boy, those last two. Oof.
I think that's the only one I like too, is the original Matrix.
I mean, it's really hard to beat that first one. It seems a little dated now, but I will all the time go, you know what? I want to watch, is it Revolutions? Was that the second one? I want to watch the second one because I want to see the giant fight on the freeway. And actually being an LA driver for so long, it makes you go, I come on to see a bunch of people shooting each other on the freeway.
We've already. That's like a Tuesday out here. We're good.
But I also want to mention, I did already talk about the Tom Cruise sci-fi movies, how much I love those. But I got to throw in, and this is the last one I'll throw in, the sci-fi movies of Charlton Heston. So, of course, you have Planet of the Apes. That's great. Then you have Omega Man.
Omega Man is a movie?
Okay. Omega Man was a movie. Now, Omega Man is just like I Am Legend, starring Will Smith, except the original version. Although there was a version before that with Vincent Price, I think. I can't remember what his was called. And then, of course, the Last Man on Earth?
Yes.
Then, of course, there's Soylent Green.
Oh.
And that's an interesting movie. That is very interesting because basically the world is running out of food.
Oh,
and it's a really ugly future.
I don't.
And there's
like
a lot of.
I don't like the sound.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like, and here's all the people in the streets fighting for food, and then super rich people, they have all the food they need.
What's that one called? What is it called?
That one's called Soylent Green.
Soylent Green. Okay.
And you'll hear it as a joke sometimes, but I got to tell you, watch it. It's fun. It's short. Goes by really fast, and it is a tremendous sci-fi movie.
Very cool. What about you, Joe? I got your list here in case you want me to refresh your memory. You sent me some.
I did. You notice I just disabled my camera because I think I was winking out again.
Yeah. That's good. I'll put a picture of you right there.
Okay. No big deal. The J is fine, but adding to John's choice of Soylent Green, I'll add that is based on a much.
Oh, Joe.
Sorry, Joe. We lost you, man.
You know what he was going to say? Maybe you can finish the sentence.
No, I can't remember what it was based on. No, he's a reader. He's a much smarter guy than I am. He reads books. I'm a terrible reader, though I do my best. And I can read Joe Townsel stories because they're written better.
I think he's back. Let me see. Is he back? Show and stream. Oh, we got two Joes. Okay, the other one left. Are you there, Joe?
Two Joes? How'd that happen? Well, I'm here. Can you hear me?
It is a sci-fi episode.
Great,
so maybe you got cloned.
Yeah. Oh my God! Is this Joe from the past or the future?
Oh my goodness! Am I audible at least?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
So what you were about to say that it was based. His pick was based.
Oh,
on
that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Soylent Green was based on a movie, on a novel called Make Room, Make Room. I won't go too much more into that. It was just an inferior novel to that movie. I was going to add to the list, surprisingly, maybe Logan's Run.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
A cheesy, very dated for effects, state of the art at the time until a year later, Star Wars came out. But very, very good social commentary there. Don't trust anybody over 30 was the mantra of the day. And of course, everyone was killed at the age of 30 in that film. And, there's just so much, so much more to add. I guess I'll cap off with one of my honorable mentions. If Tiburon, you can mention a couple more of mine if I've forgotten them. But
yeah,
I do want to include Fantastic Voyage.
Yeah.
I mean, totally unique in the sense that we have a medical team shrunk down to microscopic proportions to do brain surgery from the inside out. Worth watching for its plot and weird concept and great effects. Definitely worth watching to see Raquel Welch in a skin-tight scuba outfit.
Hello.
So, you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
That was very appropriate, actually.
Wrong button, but I guess it works, though.
It did work for the context what I was saying about good old Raquel. And I don't know, T-Bone, if you want to mention, if there's anything on my list that intrigues you, I'll
Colossus, the Forbin Project.
Oh, yes.
I know nothing about this movie.
This is a great film. I mean, basically, the United States and Russia have each invented their own supercomputer system. Mm-hmm. Very telling for the time as far as what we're experiencing now, as far as AI. Mm-hmm. And basically, the computers have decided that mankind is too dangerous to protect itself. So it's going to take charge. And it's compelling. It's fascinating to watch. I definitely recommend that one.
You also had Logan's Run.
Did I just mention Logan's Run, or did I yeah? So I make sure he didn't get cut.
Okay.
And I guess that's about it for me.
Yeah. I do want to throw one in that I just thought of, and I know you know this one, Joe. The Andromeda Strain.
Yes, I almost put that on my honorable mentions as well.
Yeah, that's a classic, and it's very science fiction. But it's undeniable in how powerful it is. And, again, like when I was a little kid, I wanted ray guns and bug-eyed monsters. So the first time I saw it, I was like, this is like watching paint dry. But I watched it when I was older, and I was like, damn, this is a really good movie. It had a lot of great pieces of what made good sci-fi at the time. It's a great moment in 1968, 69, 70, I think. One of those years. But that would be worth watching.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Hey, before we go to the next segment, because there's one segment before we wrap up, I got to ask, why was no Star Trek or Star Wars represented?
Oh.
I could have, because what I could have done was I could have said, I could have chosen one from the franchises. But I don't know. I mean, this is so funny that Joe and I have been doing Star Trek shows for like the past 4 years. And some people just are like, oh, I'm not into Star Trek. I'm like, really? I'm like, you won't watch our show just because I'm on it? No, man, just not into it. And that's, like, I get it, but I don't. I don't understand why people don't love it. But I think almost anyone could like, oh God, that second one, the second Star Trek movie, Joe.
Oh, Wrath of Khan, of course.
Wrath of Khan, which is a sequel to an episode from the original series of Star Trek that starred Khan, played by Ricardo Montalban.
That Corinthian leather.
Rich Corinthian leather. Mr. Rourke from Fantasy Island. And just a great actor all around. But for Star Wars, that first one that they made, number 4, was tremendous. I think everything changed with that. But it's, I kind of feel like this is fandom, and it would be hard to get people to like something that they're not a fan of.
Yeah.
I don't, Tiburon, I don't know how to make you love Star Trek. I have no idea how to do that.
I even bought
and
the
if
modern
you don't
ones.
want to,
I even bought some.
Do you? Or?
I bought them, yeah, because I'm always hunting at the thrift stores, and so I found like the little set. I think it has like 2 or 3 movies, the Blu-rays from the newer ones. I'm like, I intend to watch them because I have heard they're good, the newer ones.
Those the J.J. Abrams ones with Chris Pine, they're very good. I don't think they're peak Star Trek, but they are. They're very good. I think just about anybody could enjoy the action element and the humor element and good actors.
Yeah.
But Joe and I, of course, have talked about this a million times. I was 7 years old when I watched Star Trek, and this is in 1969. And it just started in syndication when I was watching it.
Oh, so you weren't watching it when it was live? When it was
Yeah, well, I mean, no, because my parents weren't watching it, and I was a baby. I do remember watching the Batman show because my parents did watch that. So I have some cool memories of that. But I was in first grade when I was watching Star Trek, and it was on every night.
Yeah.
From 7 to 8 p.m. And it was our show. Like, my parents would make us go to bed at 8 p.m. And so I, mainlined this show. I watched this show and watched it and watched it and watched it. And reruns of reruns. And so I have, and I think Joe's, I think your experience was the same. It's just very ingrained in our childhood.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do agree with John in the sense that it's hard to pick any of a big franchise like Star Wars and Star Trek as far as a list of the best sci-fi movies, because they're anything you can come up with is going to be part of a collective whole that's just so expansive for decades.
Yeah.
So I like John, I kind of concentrated on stuff that it might have been a sequel or might have been part of something else, but largely they stood on their own and had their own influence and enjoyment individually. That's where I was coming from.
You hear that, people out there? They hate Star Wars. I'm just kidding.
No.
And I got to tell you, Star Wars for me was like this is very this is not a great thing to say, but it is true. Star Wars was like being in love with someone who would only have sex with you every 3 years.
Oh yeah.
And that's, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And yet now it's all there. I can watch any of it anytime I want because I have, freaking Disney Plus. I can watch it anytime. I don't. And that's the thing.
Would you guys consider yourselves more Star Trek guys? You guys are more Star Trek?
Oh, me, yes. Absolutely.
I never considered myself a Star Trek fan until I was a sidekick on a show that was breaking down Star Trek Discovery that our friend Flobo Boyce was doing. And he was having various guests on, and he had me on early, and he was like, "You actually know this stuff?" And I was like, "I think I do. I never would have thought I did, but I think I actually know about this series." And it has been a great experience, especially working with Joe, who really has a hardcore base knowledge in Star Trek. It's been nice to discover how much I like it and how much the things that I liked were really good things. There was a guy, Mario, you got to check this out. Sorry. El Tiburon, you got to check this out. Have you watched the modern Battlestar Galactica?
No. Is that the one with Travolta? Or is that another one?
No, that's Battlefield Earth.
Okay. The one where he looks like the Undertaker?
Yes. I swear to you, I was actually going to put Battlefield Earth on my list just to mess with you guys. There are good things in that movie. Like Forrest Whitaker is in that movie. Like there are good things.
Ghost
Barry
Dog?
Morse.
Yeah.
I mean, it's terrible, but it was. I kind of had fun watching it. Battlestar Galactica was when Star Wars came out. They wanted to do on ABC. They wanted to do a series that was just like it, so they created Battlestar Galactica, and it was pretty bad.
Yeah,
it was.
I've heard
there
of
was
it.
some brains.
Yeah.
The original was, it was kind of schlocky and really kind of a direct ripoff, but they managed to kind of elevate it a little bit. It lasted for, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, 2 seasons?
One season is Battlestar Galactica, and one season is Galactica 1980.
They did a major overhaul on it for the second season, which just threw so much out in the trash. Just really threw the baby out with the bathwater. And then in the early 2000s, was it? A guy who had been working for Star Trek. So he'd been working for Star Trek Next Generation, and he'd been a very big part of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. And this is Ronald D. Moore. So he remade the old Battlestar Galactica into a new early 2000s kind of post 9/11 way of telling the story. And it was fantastic.
Oh, so they redeemed themselves. The series redeemed itself.
So much so. And with stories that are not just science fiction stories, and it's not a Bug-Eyed Monsters a ray guns show necessarily. It's mostly about these robotic life forms who are trying to kill off the organic life forms, but it's not that simple. And it gets more complicated with each season. And it is a fantastic series. So, there are moments where I would love for people to pick up something like that. It would be easy to pick that show up because you don't have to go like, well, there's 50 years of Star Wars. I'm sorry, 50 years of Star Trek. How in the world do I get on this train? It's been running for 50 years. And then Star Wars, 40 years. How do you get on the train, So Battlestar Galactica, I would suggest that for anybody. That's a tremendous series. Binge it. It's fantastic. You can't stop watching it. That was my experience.
forgot my last honorable mention right here. Outer Space, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Wasn't that one of those movies that had a terrible behind the scenes story?
Oh, did it? I don't know about that. Does it?
I could be wrong, but I think like the kids in it were treated horribly.
Oh, really? I didn't. The only thing I heard the other day, someone said that they reused the mask from the clowns in Ernest Scared Stupid, the goblins. I guess they repurposed the clown mask to make the goblin faces for Ernest Scared Stupid. That's the only thing I know about.
Another incredibly underrated franchise, the Ernest movies.
Oh man, when he's looking for the Miak to kill the troll, the goblin. Or isn't it like a piece of the page is ripped out and it's like M-I and then there's a part ripped off and a K? And he said, "Oh, they must be looking for Miak."
Why they are looking for the Miak?
All right, guys.
This is my. Oh, good.
Yeah, well, so we went through everything, our lists, honorable mentions. But guys, before I let you guys go, it's tradition around here to play a little trivia game. So I'm gonna pit Joe versus John. Little trivia game before we wrap things up. But first we gotta
found the one guy who can kick my ass.
Yeah, here we go. But before that, we gotta
going down, John.
We gotta pay the sponsor. So we're gonna take a little quick commercial break.
Welcome to the Dominion. The gateway to the world of science fiction on the internet. Catch it on the World Wide Web. The Sci-Fi Channel welcomes you to the edge.
Remember, that's sci-fi.com, guys. For all you people
Gotta
out
love
there.
them.
Yeah. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to play 10 audio clips from 10 different sci-fi movies.
Okay.
And since we're having a little bit of camera issues with Joe, usually I have people raise their hand. Whoever raises their hand first, I call on them. I think just say, if you got it, say got it. So don't blurt out the answer. Just say got it. And then I'll call on you. Tell me what movie it is. Okay? I won't deduct any points if you get it wrong. So, like, just take a guess. You won't get any points deducted. You guys ready?
Okay.
Ready for the first clip? Yeah. So just say got it when you got it. Here goes.
Interspecies prostitution, and they also dealt in alien weaponry.
You have a car hijacking, there's a chop shop there. You can see that. That's somebody's car.
The Nigerians in District 9 are headed by a man called Obisanjo.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, I got it.
Joe was first. What is it?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if I heard the clip correctly, I think they mentioned the name of the movie of District 9.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is when you get it correct, you'll hear this. I think I might have accidentally zapped Joe. I might have zapped Joe, I think, off the screen. You there, Joe? You there, Joe? All right.
I'm here.
All right. Next clip. So Joe's on the board with one. Next clip.
It's a full-page nude photo of a girl.
Is this testing whether I'm a replicant or a lesbian, Mr. Deckard?
Just answer the questions.
Got it.
I heard John first.
That would be classic Blade Runner. And what's weird about it is I hear Harrison Ford's voice and I'm like, I have no idea who that is. And as soon as Sean Young speaks, I'm like, oh, it's Sean Young. I was so horny for her. Oh, so
who wasn't?
Oh, man.
All right. So you guys are tied. I think it's going to be a tight one, I think. All right.
It's a dogfight, pal.
Here we go. Next clip.
I'm willing to take that chance. Just cut it off from now.
You take responsibility?
Yes, I'll just take the responsibility. Now get him out of here. What do you want to do?
I hear John first.
I think that's the original Alien. Where they're trying to talk about getting the face hugger off of is it John Hurt or it's one of them? Yeah.
John Hurt, yes. I mean, now that I know what it is, it's all coming back.
Joe was on your heels. As soon as you said got it, he was right after you. All right. Next clip.
Yeah. No, I can Got it.
As we.
Oh, you got it? Okay, I was like, I think I chose a tough one, but let's hear what you got.
Is that John Carpenter's The Thing?
That what you hear right there was a UFO crashing. You want to take a stab at it, Joe? You won't lose any points. This was a tough one.
I have no idea.
So that was E.T. That's the scene where he's like eating the food out of the refrigerator and the dog's barking at him.
Somebody was eating. Yes.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Not gonna lie. You just hear a lot of E.T. grunting. Maybe I should have picked like I just felt like if I put like E.T. Phone Home, that would have been way too easy.
Yeah.
Debbie Does Dallas or
what? Debbie Does Dallas what?
There was a lot of slurping.
little classic porn, maybe.
All right, next clip.
Each other, if we can negotiate a truce, we can find a way to coexist. Can there be a peace between us?
Got it.
I hear John first.
That would be Independence Day.
Very good. Don't let him get away.
So obnoxious.
Don't let him get away, Joe. Don't let him get away.
I'm trying.
All right, next one.
John's the master. What can you say?
Next clip. John's got it?
Yeah. That is Chris Tucker from The Fifth Element. I'm so worried that I didn't identify that one.
We got 4 left. So right now it's Captain John at 4, Joe at 1. So you can still get these next 4, Joe. You take the lead.
Oh.
You take the lead.
Okay.
All right, next clip.
Pressure's on.
No pressure.
Stop, David.
David, stop it. Martin, you're provoking him, okay? Stop it.
Stop it, David. Stop it.
Stop it. Stop it. Stop it now. Stop it. David, stop it.
Got it.
What is it, Joe?
I'm guessing actually the Fly 2.
So that's the next wrong answer. That was not the flight with Eric Stoltz. Now I've learned he's in the. You want to take a stab at it, John?
David, stop it, David. Oh man. David, stop it.
He's going into.
Is this like Night of the Comet?
That was AI.
Oh, my goodness.
Jeez. That's a movie that I could not stick with. I've seen portions of it.
Yeah.
But I could not watch the whole thing in one sitting, which is wild because it's essentially a Stanley Kubrick movie made by Steven Spielberg.
And I loved it. I've seen it several times, and the ending is so heartbreaking and wonderful.
Oh, that is heartbreaking.
We got 3 left, so Joe can still send it into overtime. We're gonna go to the next clip.
Physical engineering conversations using nothing but a still frame camera
from 1996. Luckily, the camera does spin. So I can make an alphabet. It can't be our alphabet. 26 characters plus a question card into 360 gives us 13 degrees of arc. That's way too narrow. I'd never know what the camera was pointing at.
Got it.
What is it, John?
Is that The Martian, starring
E.T. Home Phone.
That is correct. That is the correct
buzzer.
That is the correct buzzer right there. So the game's already in the bag, 5-1. But we'll play the remaining 2 just for fun.
Maybe I can redeem myself by coming closer.
Yeah,
anyway.
you can make it more respectable right here, Joe. You can do it. Here we go.
Conspiracy to make him think he's a lowly construction worker. Stop punishing yourself, Doug. You're a fine, upstanding man. You have a beautiful wife that loves you. Your whole life is ahead of you. But you've got to want to return to reality.
This is I
got it.
I think I heard Joe first, I think.
Yeah, Joe said he got it. I didn't.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even if it took another second, Arnold's voice would have given it away, but that was Total Recall.
Yes.
E.T. Home Phone.
And that could have been a top movie for me. I loved that movie.
Man, no love for E.T. I loved it too, and I didn't put it on my list either. All right, last clip. You can make it 5-3, Joe, with this next one.
Okay.
I'm Mark Sherman. SETI, the search for extraterrestrial. It's just such a... Do you mind if I sit down? There are so many questions that I'd like to ask you. I hardly even know where to begin. Have people from your world been here before?
Before, yes. We are interested in your species.
You mean some kind of an anthropologist? Is that what you're doing here? Just checking us out?
You are a strange species. Not like any other. And you would be surprised how many there are. Intelligent but savage.
Got it?
Let's hear it, John.
Is that Starman?
E.T. Home Phone.
Starman.
I've never seen it.
No? How did you know what it was?
Way to go, John.
I can recognize Jeff Bridges' movie voice. I can, it's a movie I always felt like I'd failed myself by not watching.
That's crazy that you was that after having seen it. That's crazy.
Is that a John Carpenter movie?
I have no idea.
I can't remember who
it is. With Karen Allen,
right? And I'm a big John Carpenter fan, but I got to tell you, I kind of prefer John Carpenter's horror.
They Live
to his sci-fi. Yeah. Oh, and They Live. One of my the fact that I didn't put They Live on my list.
I was gonna bring it. I was gonna bring that up. I was like, should that have been sci-fi? It should have been, right? It's aliens.
For me, I was gonna go. I was honestly thinking of kicking Death Race 2000 off my list and putting in They Live, because that's sci-fi. That is the story of an invasion that already happened.
Yeah, I guess that would be the one to knock off Jason X off my list. They Live. Yeah, I feel bad not having that either. That's an awesome one. I mean, especially because there's a pro wrestler, Roddy Piper.
I was about to say, a couple of pro wrestling nerds like you and me, how did we not pick that or Hell Comes to Frogtown or some other, Roddy Piper movie?
Yeah.
Because he really was one of the best.
Sorry, Hot Rod. That is one of my favorite that's probably I might like it more than Halloween. Yeah.
Wow.
I feel bad I don't have it. Yeah, I love that movie, especially the wrestling scene where they're wrestling in the alley and he does a textbook gut wrench suplex.
I mean, it was so funny. I think that was
by far the best
Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, go ahead, Joe.
Oh, I'm sorry. Probably having some audio issues on this end still, but I was just gonna say it's the best final scene of any movie ever. I mean, I just love, the topless woman. She's bumping and grinding and looks down to see the alien and he goes, "What's wrong, baby?"
Oh yeah, that thing.
What about just before that? There's two aliens, and there's like a tall one and like a short, fat one wearing glasses, and they're talking about George Romero, and it's basically two aliens that are Siskel and Ebert.
Oh yeah,
talking about George Romero.
Yeah. I always loved the line.
Of course, what's the?
Go ahead, Joe.
No, I'm sorry. What's the all-time classic line that Rod Piper totally improvised?
The bubblegum. All out of bubble.
That's right.
I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum. There you go. I got that soda too. The all out
Do
of
you
bubble.
really?
I have it.
I will never drink this.
Yeah. I think I love the line where I don't know who he's looking at. Someone like makes a call or uses their little like phone watch. And he's like, "Oh, Daddy don't like tattletales."
Yeah, there's also like that floating eye thing, that like metal floating eye thing that he shoots with the sawed-off shotgun.
Honestly, if I would have been thinking, this probably would have been like number 3 for me, number 3 or 2. But you know what? We're showing the love now. We forgot. We're sorry, Carpenter and Piper. R.I.P. Roddy Piper. Sorry.
There are some movies that actually exist totally on their own, and I would put They Live in there. Like, I don't think it's comparable to many other movies. Yeah. It could easily have been my number one. What I liked about my number one was it said so much about the hobby of loving science fiction.
Oh,
Galaxy Quest.
Another good wrestler sci-fi one we forgot. There's another one, Suburban Commando with Hulk Hogan and you guys didn't even bring up Christopher Lloyd's performance in that when you guys were bringing up Christopher Lloyd performance.
Never
I've
in a million years
my mind.
would I ever watch a Hulk Hogan movie. Never.
Oh man, you're breaking my heart, John.
I'm sorry, Joe. What were you saying?
Oh no, I just said for some reason Christopher Lloyd and Suburban Commando slipped my mind. I can't explain it.
It's all right.
Well, and none of us said Running Man.
I've never seen it. I know that's Arnold, but I've never seen it.
Yeah,
it's a
based on a Stephen King novella.
I was about to say Stephen King wrote it, and it's got some wrestlers in it. I think
Ventura, basically Jesse Ventura.
Yeah, Ventura's in it, isn't he?
Yeah.
I'm gonna take you down. It's really hard to do Ventura. None of us said Predator.
But yeah, I guess because I consider that one more action, but it's sci-fi too. There's an alien.
Yeah. He uses alien technology. That's about as far as it gets being sci-fi, and he is an alien.
Yeah.
But I think it also brings up something that one of you guys had said about Aliens, which was how everybody was so different and they were their own characters.
Right.
Yeah.
And in Predator, for me, it's like you're all the same guy.
they're essentially the Gears of War characters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
they're all like just super jacked up guys, with machine guns.
Well, it's so funny because the writer Shane Black is one of them, and I guess he was a jacked up dude.
Was he the one with the glasses? Is that Shane Black?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He's like the only one that's not jacked, I think.
Oh, is he not jacked?
Not compared to Ventura or Arnold.
Right. Or Carl Weathers.
Yeah, or Carl Weathers. Yeah. Those dudes are like in their own league. I love that line where he's like, what is he? I can't do an Arnold, but he's like, "What's the matter? They got you pushing pencils or some shit."
The only two lines I remember them from that movie are like the one where he's like, "You're an ugly son of a bitch," and then get to the chopper.
What about Dylan? You son of a bitch.
And of course, the line, which is, "Hey, you're bleeding. I ain't got time to bleed."
Oh, that's Ventura, isn't it?
That's Jesse Ventura. I don't have time to bleed. If you want to do Jesse Ventura, you got to do a Minnesota accent and then just pretend you're full of steroids.
Full of steroids.
And once you can do that, then you have the ultimate Jesse Ventura voice.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna do one more commercial break, and then we're gonna wrap things up.
Look at us.
BRB.
The Gemini space flights. The trips are long. The training is hard, like this spacewalk practice. But the astronauts do some things you do. In space, they drank Tang. They mixed it like this in a zero-G pouch, because with no gravity, it would fly all over. You don't have that problem. You can mix it in a glass. Up there, they have to drink it carefully, this way. You can drink it any way you like. Tang tastes orangey. Tastes great. Has lots of vitamins C and A. Tang, chosen for the Gemini astronauts. Have a blast. Have some Tang.
Who in the world was in charge of going, yeah, it's pronounced Gemini?
He really sold that Tang. Really sold that Tang.
Oh, yeah. Drank a lot of Tang as a kid.
I love Tang. Me too.
Shoot, good. Maybe I should go see if they're still making it.
And you can drink it. You could even drink it in space in a pouch, apparently. well, I wanted to thank you guys, Captain John and Mr. Joe Townsel, for coming on the pod. This was, man, we went through a lot of movies. We missed some, but that's all right. It's okay. You know, we still showed love to them at the end. But I wanted to give you guys a chance to plug your stuff, plug the YouTube, whatever you want to plug.
Well, you can find us. We are on a couple of different social platforms right now. We have gone through a rebranding because Starbase 80 is intellectual property that's owned by the owners of Star Trek. So we just basically went with SB 80. You can find us on Facebook at SB/. Oh. Wait a minute. No, it's SB-80. Not very easy. You can find us on Instagram at SB80_comms, and that's our same handle over on Twitter, SB80 lower space comms.
But for the listeners, if you're watching on YouTube, description down below, I'll put all their links. Also, if you're listening on the audio end on Spotify or another podcast app, it'll be on the show notes. How about Joe? Joe, your website.
Yes. Gosh, John, that's a hard act to follow, but I'll try.
Get everything wrong, and you'll be right with me.
No, thank you. I'm right there with Captain John, of course. I am also known as Commander Joe. I have a website, joetownsel.com. I sell my books there. Links to all my webcasts with Captain John are also there, along with our various YouTube channels, all the platforms that John tried to convey there a moment ago and ultimately spat out. And, we have a great time every week on every weekend on our SB80 shows. If you're listening to this now or watching us, you'll want to go back to Weber Internet Thingy on YouTube. Yes. Look for our June 16th episode. We're going to record or have recorded by the time you hear this with El Tiburon. And it's going to be great fun. And please go to joetownsel.com and all SB-80 materials on social platforms near you.
It's a good time. Even if because disco nights on Saturday, right now, that's Star Trek, right? That's Star Trek.
Yeah, we finished doing Star Trek Discovery, which is what Disco Night was. Disco Discovery. One of the nicknames of Discovery was Disco. That will be replaced by a show that Joe named, because he's a damn genius, which is Retro Trekkers. And we're going to go back to the old format of recapping and reviewing having watched an episode of Star Trek. All Star Trek is, within our reach. We don't go in order, or we just do whatever feels good. And it will start with our trilogy, where we'll do 3 episodes based on 3 episodes of Star Trek that feature tribbles.
Oh man, all right, cool. And like you said earlier, like some people don't like the Star Trek, but on Sundays, sometimes I'll go on there and watch. That thing's hilarious. I was watching one day. They were watching like a bunch of was it like B-list actors doing a triathlon?
Oh my god! Oh.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Yeah, we do a watch party, and we're gonna figure out. It's like every 3 weeks or 4 weeks we'll do a watch party, which is what we did for. It was called Battle of the Network Stars.
Yeah, I was watching.
It used to air twice a year, and it was all about getting all these famous actors of the mid-'70s into the tiniest shorts and the tightest T-shirts, and throwing them in water and making them run track events. And it is so jiggly and sexy and stupid, and it's so much fun. And that's on Retro Rangers. Which is a show dedicated to just watching some of the most obscure video clips that we can find.
I've been on the show. Some stuff that was never ever on my radar, like bizarre stuff, but funny, like hilarious. Like that was this on TV.
Yeah, it's tremendous to do the show because I realized while we were just debuting it. It was like, this is the show I always wanted to do. It's like earlier Joe mentioned UHF, which was Weird Al Yankovic's movie. Mm. And I always wanted to have that. I was like, if I could own a UHF station and just play the most obscure, like cartoons and garbagey shows from the 60s and 70s and 50s. And, that would just make me so happy. And now Joe and I do that show on Sundays, Retro Rangers.
There you go. Swing by. Like I said, they'll be in the description. The links are or on in the show notes if you're listening on.
Yeah. If you head over to Weber Internet Thingy and you go to live, you will find all of our show sort of unedited and there.
There you go. As for me,
I got all choppy. Did I drop?
Yeah, you know it's a sci-fi episode. So you started turning into R2D2 there for a second. A little choppy.
Very. Yeah, I'm Max Headroom over here.
There, Max Headroom, promoting the Pepsi or what was it, Coke or Pepsi?
We did do an episode with Max Headroom, didn't we? I can't remember. That might have been like on our Night Flight episode, Joe.
It was exactly. It was in the Night Flight episode, and there was a section there for Max Headroom. So we have visited Mr. Headroom one time, and like everybody else, he can always come back.
There you go. As for me, you can please leave me a review. I'm on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the podcast or my YouTube channel, I have a website, as you can see down in the ticker. RetroTiburon.com if you want to buy a shirt, a mug, something to support. You can also leave me a voicemail at my website, RetroTiburon.com. Chances are I'll play it on the podcast as long as it's not like super racist or something. Like maybe if it's funny, maybe I'll still play it, but make me laugh.
You can cuss all you want. Don't be racist.
Yeah, seriously. Some obscenities are more obscene than others, and racism is definitely in there.
And obviously, if you're listening on a podcast app, check me out on YouTube, Retro Tiburon. I do live streams, gaming live streams. I do community game nights. We play Fortnite, Mario Kart. Right now, we're playing this game currently, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, the video game. So
I saw you were giving that a big push.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Come through and hang out with us. So that's it, guys. But I'm doing another little tradition before as I play us out. I want you guys to give a piece of advice that maybe someone gave to you. Something that stuck with you that you want to give the people out there. So I'll start with Joe. Piece of advice, something you want to give the people out there.
The best advice I can give is, corny as it may sound, follow your dreams, fulfill your passions. Don't give up, because there's nothing worse, and I'm an older guy, enough guy to know this, than getting in your sunset years and saying, "What if I'd only tried? Who knows what could have happened?" So,
amen.
Stick
Amen
with it.
That. Yeah.
What about you, John? Give us something.
I'm gonna steal a piece of advice from the wrestling great Mick Foley. Mick Foley pointed out that somebody told him he wasn't cool. And he said, "That's okay. I don't have to be cool. My thing is not being cool." And he did that for so long, with people going, "You're not cool. You're not the best. You're not cool. You're not cool." And then he realized that not being cool is probably the ultimate level of being cool. Except not impressing people. Except not being praised. Accept those things about yourself, and accept yourself, and you will be the coolest people most people know.
There you go. We'll leave it on that note. See you guys.
See you. Thanks for having us.
See you guys on the other side.
Thanks so much, Tiburon.
Yeah, thank you guys.
El Tiburon swimming off. Oh, just ate a swimmer. No,